And welcome in to Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. It is Friday. We are poised for a big weekend. We've got some great sports talk coming for you today. We're going to hit a variety of topics. Tim Hasselbeck is going to join us at noon. He is back from his Junction Boys camp with the Ensworth football team. We'll actually see if that's true. I don't think it's quite Junction Boys, but he did get away. I'm curious how he handled the heat and things like that.
Do you think he made them practice with headlights, like turned off all the lights and then all the coaches turned on their headlights and he went to practice?
We got to ask Herman Boone.
Yeah, we got to ask.
We'll run it until we get it right.
Yeah, we got to ask, because if he didn't, that's not coaching. If he didn't put on if the coaches ain't lined up their cars along, the players to give them light in the night, they ain't practicing.
We'll have to see if he gets a little old school.
Yeah.
Will you ever quit? Remember Herman Boone, Coach Boone? I still love that movie.
I think Tim probably had them in nice air condition. They all had nice beds,
indoor facilities,
AC on. They had a bunch of televisions. They was watching movies every night. That ain't no damn camp, Tim. And I hope you listening right now. That ain't no camp. That was a trip. That was a vacation. That's what that was.
Okay, this is what we're gonna do. We'll paint the picture.
Yeah, we're painting our own picture
Herman
here.
Boone or Junction Boys, like bunk beds, no air conditioning, water only when necessary. Go to the cafeteria and you get bread, you get soup.
One shower a day.
As
opposed
to more the country club, the air conditioning, indoor facilities.
You got to put your shoes outside because they soaking wet to dry.
Yep.
It ain't you don't put your shoes on that little dryer thing.
Oh yeah, the dryer thing that you put
the shoes on. Yeah. No, you don't. Ain't none of that. You washing your own clothes.
If this wasn't Tim Hasselbeck at camp, we're having a problem.
Yeah.
We will be perfect in every aspect of the game. You drop a pass, you run a mile. You miss a blocking assignment, you run a mile. You fumble the football, and I will break my foot off in your John Brown hind parts, and then you will run a mile. Perfection. Let's go to work.
If that wasn't Tim or his coaching staff or his brother Matt, then they're not coaching. They're not coaching. So Tim, if you're listening to me, you better make up a story. Because I know it was country clubbing out there. I know it was country clubbing.
Somebody polished the helmets after practice.
Exactly. They polished their helmets and cleaned their helmets. No, man, come on. You bring your own water jug. You better put it in the freezer the night before so it can freeze, because it's going to be sitting outside. So as it melts, you won't have hot water. You still be cold. I'm telling you all the stuff we used to do in the D, man. You bring your own water jug. You put it in the freezer the night before. You bring it with you, and hopefully it lasts the whole, at least some ice stay in there. But then you always got somebody that never brings theirs, and then they want some of yours. It's like, man, seriously. And you got to give them some because they're teammates. But man, you could have did what I did. Throw your water in the freezer.
We used to have the thing. I'm sure you saw this, right? The big plastic pole that had like 6 or 8 water shots. You run the hose through it. The water cow. Everybody comes over there like a bunch of cows and just trying to just get as much as you can.
Coach always said, time to corral the herd.
Y'all know what we talking about. Y'all that are listening. Y'all know what we talking about.
Oh yeah, preseason football. It was not my favorite. Not my favorite part of the season. But it is like the rite of passage. You got to get through there.
Oh right? Yeah, you had to get through it.
The first time I ever played in Pat, I moved to Florida. Mm-hmm. I saw myself as I'm the next, Phil Simms or Joe Montana. Let's throw the rock around. My coach starts off by telling me, Willie, I know this is your first time playing football. You played flag or whatever, but we threw 13 passes as a team last year. This was the 7th grade. I was like, what do you mean? We're not throwing it 20, 25 times a game? What am I signing up for here? And then we had two-a-days and up-downs and leg lifts. I'm on
just to hand the ball off?
Huh?
Just to hand the ball off for the quarterback?
Yeah, I'm like, what's the passing drill?
Exactly. Like, goodness, man. Like, no, I'm quitting, coach. I'm going to go play another sport.
I had to do some serious self-reflection. I was like, I think I'm sick today. I don't know if I can make practice. But I made it through. I made it through. And we
Okay.
did throw the pearl around a little bit more.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we did. So what's catching your attention? We always love to start off the show these days with the Olympic moments.
Yes.
The stuff that's catching our attention. This morning was a duel of archery.
Archery.
The
You and I
South
were
Korean
talking
team,
about
like
that,
nobody could mess with that team. It was a huge crowd to
Oh, my
watch this thing.
goodness. They were like marksmen. They are marksmen. The U.S. took the bronze. First time in a good while that they medaled in archery. So they took the bronze, but man, the other teams, boy, they were hitting bullseyes everywhere. You couldn't compete with them. Then I saw the 100-meter qualifiers for the gold medal. The U.S. at least has 3 people in the next round, which is the quarterfinals. This is weird how they do this. I don't know why they do the track and field events, especially like the 100. They are running the semifinals and the finals all in one day.
Huh.
Yeah. They're
I guess there's so many events they have to do it that way.
probably
The
because
swimming
there's
is
so many
like that too.
events. Yeah, I'm like, man, that's putting a lot of, and I know they're probably running in the morning and then again in the one or two.
Yeah, if
or
you're a
4.
good all-around person,
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
doing a lot of different events for the team.
So I wonder, I don't know if it may have always been this way. I don't know. But they were talking about it this morning. I guess it's not a big deal, but these athletes, they need as much rest as possible because it is hot in Paris. And I mean hot right about now, they said. And any rest you can, they were talking about one female, I think from, was it Barbados or I forget what country she was from. And she said she just stays in the room all day because it's so hot. Just stay in the room with air conditioning all day because it's so hot, or stay in an air conditioned building because it's so hot there. So I'm looking forward to the finals. I think it's tomorrow. The semifinals and the finals are tomorrow in the women's 100, the men's 100 and 200. They get started, I think, later on the day.
Did you see Sha'Carri Richardson live this morning?
Man, and she cruised. She was probably in 3rd gear. She cruised through there 10-9, cruising. That was just cruising. Like I'm riding in the back rows of Nashville, just cruising. Ain't got no care in the world. That's how she ran, and she dusted everybody.
I'm excited for the track and field. I know you're really fired up for the track and field. This is what you get into.
This is
So the swimming is winding down, and that will be then where they switch the main events to the track. Is kind of how the Olympics usually work. The swimming's early, then the track. That's kind of your bread and butter. And so that stadium where you're going, it's the track and field is going to be good.
Oh, people! You know what disappointed me though? I'm watching, and the U.S. men's soccer team was getting
they got whipped.
You know what? They were getting beat down. When I turned it off, it was 3-0. I said, seriously, y'all, this is what y'all bring to the Olympics? Nothing. You shouldn't even qualify. You shouldn't even game.
It ended 4-0.
It ended 4-0. You shouldn't even game. You should have just stayed home. You got beat down. It wasn't even close.
Not by Italy or France, like one of the power, or Brazil.
Exactly.
Morocco. Yeah. Morocco shouldn't beat us 4-0. What?
If they do beat, it's like more 1-0, but 4-0.
Yeah,
like you could lose,
but the U.S.
it was over early.
Yeah, the U.S. hadn't had a team. They had the first one was a free kick. The first point was a free kick. But the U.S. Have they had a men's soccer team? They hadn't had one in a while, huh?
Not really. I mean, you could say the North American media, as in the U.S., kind of publicizes like that old Landon Donovan, Jose Altidore era.
That was
like the prime era. Now the U.S., they're like top team right now. This is like I call it the golden boy era. You have all these really good young players.
Yeah. I keep thinking we're going to break through at some point, and so this is a setback here. So are we out? Does this mean no medal? Is that the quarterfinal?
I think so. These are kind of like the knockout stages.
They need to go practice with the women.
Hey,
put Rodman on the team. Hell, we might get some goals.
Trinity, pretty good.
Yes, gosh, the women, they lights out. Man, y'all ain't even. I don't know what y'all are. And I hate to say that because they're a U.S. team, but they're not good.
Well, and they
had best players in the USA, the U.S. of A. You got the best players. and you go get your ass kicked 4-0 by Morocco. And Morocco's probably good. I don't know about Morocco and their
Morocco
team.
beat Argentina. I
Yeah,
get
okay.
it, but it's still like 4-0 is tough. And they had done well to get to this stage, the group stage. They played well to get to this game. Just to have that happen, boy.
Damn, man, you
tough.
can't represent like that, man. Well, hell, that's not even representing. But man, hopefully they can get this team together. So when you come back to the U.S. for the 2028 Olympics there in LA, we got to have a team together. We can't be getting beat 4-0 on our own playing field. That can't happen. I think I'm gonna have to join. Willie,
You want to coach the team?
I want
A little Herman Boone?
I want to do something.
Perfection. We want perfection.
We'll be running all day, every day.
Run a mile. It'll be more than-
Coach, but where's the soccer ball? We don't need no damn soccer ball. Y'all run now.
It's like Ted Lasso, you bring out the football.
Exactly.
We're passing the ball.
Hey, Coach, why you bring out a football? Don't worry why I brought out that football. Just run, okay?
I have had a couple practices in a couple different sports where they put the balls away. That's always bad news.
Yeah, that's
Guys,
not good.
We don't need the
news.
ball
When
today.
You put the ball away.
No.
Whoo. Boy, oh boy, it's gonna be a long day.
We had a walkthrough practice once, high school football, and they got rid of the football. I remember our head coach, not my senior, but beforehand, the head coach grabbed the football, chucked it about probably 50 yards to like the other end zone, and said, "See that football? Yeah, we're not using it today." I was like, "Oh no!"
All right, that's never good.
Let's get 3 or 4 texts.
Okay.
On the text line. So people want to weigh in on the soccer team. Feel free to do that. I also want to hear, or Olympics, if you have an Olympic thought, 615-737-1025. We're going to get into the DeAndre Hopkins thing at 11:20 because DMase and I, we're going to break this down. This is a big story. How do the Titans figure it out? But would love to get some Olympic thoughts. But the other one is a symbol of preseason football practice, old school or new school. Because we're going to have Tim on at noon. Maybe we'll ask, does he have any of these things in there? But we talked about the hose with the 7. What do you call it?
The water cow.
The water cow, where you get all the offensive linemen over there just getting as close to that thing as you can and just trying to chug it as much as you can.
It's not even cold water.
It's not cold.
They grab it straight from the hose. They just put it in a jug.
So if you have a symbol of preseason football practice, leg lifts are mine. Like leg lifts. Oh no, leg lifts.
Leg day.
Up downs. Oh no. 615-737-1025. If you got just something, what pops into your mind? Preseason football practice, the 2-a-days, the heat, no stickers on the helmets. That was another thing. Like, you got to earn the stickers on your helmet. No stickers on the helmets.
Or if you're a parent, what do you do for your kids right around this time when practice is starting up? Do you pack them extra fruit snacks, which you shouldn't, but do you pack extra fruit snacks? Do you put in extra fruit, more water? What do you do for your kid when you sit them out there on that hot day?
You pray.
Yeah, pretty much so.
On the line. That's all I remember. And the whistle to follow.
Man. 615-737-1025. Let's see. We got a texter on the text line. Reason we can't do well in soccer as we should is because the best sports players play football, basketball, baseball.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think
I've heard
we
that
should
before.
be big enough to be able to do well in all of them. That should be the attitude. I see what he's saying. Like there's not big scholarships for men's soccer players. You can't go to college on a full ride very many places, right? That's just how the system is, right? I don't know that that's going to change. Not a lot of teams offer a lot of NIL for men's soccer programs.
No,
it's just kind of how it's gone. Maybe that will change over time. But I see what he's saying there.
Yeah, I get it. Well, just like they're going to put money toward the rugby team just to have so they can make sure they can field a highly competitive rugby team in the 2028 Olympics. They need to put some more money into the soccer team because we need it. And I'm not kidding with this one. In 4 years, we need to have a soccer team, a men's soccer team that can compete for a gold. There's no reason for us to come back home to have it in our backyard and not have a team that can legitimately compete for a medal. Not just the gold, but for a medal, period.
I do think in the last, and Nick, you would probably agree, the last 20 or 30 years, they've made a lot of strides.
Yes.
Right? As we're now we now at least should have this attitude. Like before, it was like, oh, we don't try in soccer. We don't have anybody. We weren't even in the World Cup, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
So now it's like you need to go, you need to win. Like let's strive for that.
And they have structure now. Like they have an academy, they have a bunch of youth products that are developing, and that's the big key to this whole entire international process with the top team is you have to have a good foundation, just like baseball, football, all the above.
615-737-1025. Jump on in there with what pops into your head first? A symbol of early season football practice. Joey from Bellevue says day 1 practice, Oklahoma drill. Oh, yeah, I know about that.
Yeah, I know about that. I'm glad they've removed that drill.
I was hoping after my first few practices that I would get like the yellow jersey. Hey, quarterback's over here. Don't have to do the Oklahoma drill. Like I think I only did it a couple times, and I was like, can I get that yellow jersey, that non-contact?
A quarterback in my school at Mumford High. Oh, we did the Oklahoma drill too.
Yeah,
ain't nobody
kickers.
Everybody did the Oklahoma drill. You ain't exempt. If you ain't here, that's the only reason you're not.
You ever do this one in the line of the Oklahoma drill? You're counting. Okay.
All the time.
I'm 4th or 5th in the line. Who's 4th and 5th over there? Oh, I'm going up against Grego. Oh no. Hey, get behind me. You're gonna switch. I gotta.
I gotta get the bathroom. I'm gonna go get some water.
We had this guy, Grego Ford. He played at Army. He was a great player, and he was one of those guys from 7th grade up. He was always the biggest, toughest, hardest hitter. I got hit by a couple times by him. I was like, God, I have got to avoid him at all costs.
Yeah.
But you see him lining up, and you're like, I'm in trouble. Just like Angola was against the Dream Team. Donnick's in trouble going up against Greg Ford.
Okay, he says, here's a text. Doesn't have a name on here, but it said also, DMase, we have the World Cup in America in 2026.
Yes.
You are so right. We have to be competitive. We need success in soccer.
That's a
damn right we do. We need success in soccer.
We should have had a game in Nashville. I thought we had it. That would have been huge, but we'll have to enjoy it without it. But that will be a massive, massive event in our country. They had it in 1994. It wasn't as big. It was big, very big. But I don't think we appreciated soccer as a country as much as we do now. It's come a long way since then.
Yeah.
So I think that will be huge in a couple of years. That's a good point. Let me get to Jane on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Jane, welcome in.
Thanks. I just wanted to remind you, since you're talking about the Olympics, we have a Nashvilleian that is in the discus throw, is throwing today.
Oh, okay.
Oh, tell me about it.
Vanderbilt. She's a Vanderbilt grad student.
Oh, men's or women's?
Women's,
Okay.
Veronica Fraley.
Okay, we'll be watching. Veronica Fraley.
Yeah, I'm anxious to see her. And it was very interesting. Last night on the coverage, they were saying that she had tweeted out that she's at the Olympics, but she doesn't have enough money to pay her rent, since she's out of town. And she was not slamming the university at all, but she was kind of slamming the NIL. She's saying, these other teams get paid. They haven't won anything. They get paid through NIL, and I get nothing. So kind of showing, some of the flaws of the NIL and how it works and how certain athletes are rewarded and others that are qualified enough to be rewarded or not. So as a result of that, the word got around. Flavor Flav, who is at the Olympics, and I think it's either Serena or Venus Williams' husband, offered to send, and they sent her money. First, Flavor Flav chimed in. He sent her $8,000, and then the other man said he wanted to split it, and I think they both ended up sending her about $8,000 to pay her rent.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Flavor Flav stepping up.
Cool.
But you're
Pretty
right.
cool,
I mean, if you qualify, if you're that good and you're qualifying for the Olympics, there should be some NIL money coming in, I would think.
This is going to take a while to shake out, I do think. So, Jane, does she have a chance to win? Could she medal? Did we lose Jane?
Did we lose Jane?
Okay.
Jane left.
So
well,
Jane, thanks for passing
thanks
along.
for the
We'll
call.
keep an
We'll
eye
be
on
watching.
that.
We'll
Wow.
be looking out for her. Vandy grad. Did he say she was a Vandy grad or she
Graduate student.
Graduate student.
Graduate
Okay.
student. Okay.
Flavor
Vandy
Flav.
graduate student. So
What a great
Flavor
story.
Flav.
yeah, hey, man.
How about that?
He's all in. He's all in. So is the Snoop Dogg.
Exactly.
They got a lot of people, the ambassadors out there. It has been fun. Colin Jost at the surfing. How about the one dude that just launched through the big wave and just started soaring through the air? and had that
took the
picture.
picture. Yeah.
That looked like he was just walking on air. That was pretty
That was
cool.
a pretty cool picture.
That was amazing. Okay, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got a ton of texts here. Some symbols of first day at football practice, plus soccer stuff, soccer comments in the wake of the USA soccer team getting beat 4-0 today against Morocco at the Olympics. A tough loss after an encouraging start to the tournament. So let's take a break. We'll come back and get this going, and then we'll get into the D-Hop story, a big story going forward for the Titans. Stay tuned. This is Willy and DMase just getting it cranking here on a Friday afternoon on 102.5 The Game. All right, D-Base, here's a little 80s trivia here. Who wrote and produced this song for Eddie Murphy?
Wasn't this wasn't Prince that wrote it for what?
No.
Rick James.
Yes.
It was Rick James that wrote it for him. Yes. It was
You
Rick
can picture
James.
Rick James singing this song.
Mhm. Exactly.
One of the craziest characters of the 80s for sure, Rick James.
When Eddie came out with this, it was the hit song.
It was a big hit.
Man, it was a big hit.
He sings just well enough to be able to
pull it
sound
off.
pretty good. He got a hit. He was good.
He got a hit.
It's like, hey, we want to see the next movie you're in, not necessarily your next album, but hey, he's versatile.
Hey,
Eddie Murphy.
that's how it was back in the day.
He was the absolute
man.
king in
man.
the 80s. 615-737-1025. We're talking Olympics. We're talking early football practices and memories. And Joey from Bellevue says, my son plays soccer. They canceled his first practice yesterday because of the heat. That was probably a smart move. I told him to drink more water and stay away from the sodas. Yeah, those drinks that kind of dehydrate you, you want to be thinking more water.
You want to be thinking water,
Water,
some
Gatorade,
electrolytes in it. You don't want to be drinking soda and juice and all. It tastes great, goes down wonderful, but man, it ain't good for you.
John in McMinnville text in, soccer clubs in Europe have academies starting at age 6. Until we improve our youth program, we'll never have a chance. And I do have mixed thoughts about that, because I do wonder if we'll ever move towards that more. For example, there is in hockey a thing called the U.S. Development Program. It's not at age 6, right? But, 16 or so, 17, you start identifying the best players. And U.S. has like a development program for soccer, right?
Yes,
Nick?
they do.
But it's not 6.
No.
But
Isn't it
there's not.
IMG?
See,
I mean, you could call it that, yeah. But no, they have I think in Nashville, it's called like NUSA, Nashville,
Okay.
like developmental something.
right. They're starting to develop these kind of programs, but that kind of is what it takes to build elite teams down the road for World Cups and things like that. But there is a price to be paid with that.
I mean,
I would say
Nashville's going through it right now. I mean, they're obviously in a slump, but they bring in a guy like BJ Callahan, and he's a guy that develops players, youth players. And Nashville is also getting their academy kind of situated as well. So it's kind of at a local point and also a national point.
All
too.
these damn Callahans running around here now.
I know.
We got 3 of them now.
The Callahan Caravan.
Exactly. There we go. Bring them all in. Fix the teams, plural. Titans and Nashville SC.
Need it all.
Texter on just some thoughts on early football practices. Coaches put sticker patches on purpose. I can't read what he wrote there. The sticker patches were big though. You had to earn the stripes, the stickers,
Oh, yeah.
the logos. 3-man monkey rolls in shorts and t-shirts. Oh boy,
Those are
Yeah.
the worst. Oh man, I remember people throwing up. Gosh, it was the worst. I'm just thinking about it. Why in the hell did I play that sport?
DMase, I got a question for
What's
you.
up?
August the 2nd, thanks to Joe Dubin, he
Yes.
gave me this information. August the 2nd in the Liberty Bowl of 1997 was
Yes.
Titans' first preseason. I believe it was your first preseason in the two-tone blue.
Mm-hmm.
You remember anything about that day?
Was it in the Liberty Bowl?
That's what he was saying.
That was the first game of the season versus the Oakland Raiders at the time.
Oh,
Yeah, I remember I got my chance I was starting as the third wide receiver in that game because Derek Russell was hurt. D-Fuss, we called him. And I caught my first NFL pass and had my first NFL fumble, all in the same play.
in the preseason game. August 2nd.
No, that was in
because the
you're
first
right.
regular
My
season
regular season
game
game was the Raiders.
was the Raiders,
And
yeah.
I ended up making my first catch and fumbling my first. But I think my first game I balled out, I think I had a few catches. I know I went to Dallas.
So Joe is
and
saying though
balled
that
out.
the first preseason game was August 2nd
of
97.
97.
Oh, wow.
I'll tell you where I was on August 2nd, 97. I got married.
Hey, congratulations.
I was at all the practices
So
at TSU.
So the
And then
anniversary
took
is
off.
next week.
No, the anniversary is today.
today.
Oh, it's
Today,
today.
yeah.
What's
The
today?
2nd, August
August
2nd.
2nd.
Oh, I thought you said 7th. I'm
No,
sorry.
August
Willy.
2nd.
Oh,
Yeah.
congrats, Willy.
Happy
You was gonna let
anniversary,
that
Willy.
you was gonna let that bypass when I'm saying
We're
anything.
on our Eddie George
And-
anniversary.
No, Willy,
27.
hush,
There you
hush,
go.
Willy, hush.
27.
Because Willie tried to have, and congratulations.
Yeah.
You stayed with this fool this long, okay? Congrats to you.
That's generally the response she gets on August 2nd each year.
Happy anniversary. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Eddie George anniversary for the Donics here.
Oh, man.
But yeah, I'm glad Joe brought that up. That is
Yeah.
crazy. The early days at TSU. You talk about like an old school Herman Boone kind of look. That is kind of what it was. It was hot
Yeah.
for sure. Hale Stadium, the whole.
Yeah, that's what he was, the
Yeah.
whole for us.
And now Eddie George, all these years later, is coaching
Yeah.
TSU.
Full circle, huh?
It
Pretty
is.
cool.
Come back full circle. Let's
Bear crawls, early football practices. You remember that?
yeah.
Bear-
All that stuff, man.
Bear crawls.
Up the hill. No thanks.
And we had dirt fields. We didn't have grass. We had dirt. So
Is
there
that
you go.
different than the crabs? You know, you're down
Bear
on all fours. You're staying down. Going
Yeah, no,
under
it's-
the cone or whatever.
Yeah, bear crawls is just you just crawl. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not going underneath anything. We're not going underneath anything.
I thought the crab crawls are like on your like back, you're like facing up towards the sky, and you're like going backwards that way.
I don't know. Yeah, Willie, that may be. And we.
Well,
never
I'm
did
thinking
that.
of, you get knocked down, you're trying to
Barrel
get
roll.
back up quick.
It's a bear. It's a bear.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
That's the bear
yeah,
crawl?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's talking about barrel. Like they do up downs, get up, and you turn.
Oh, you
stand up
turn.
again.
Okay, I know
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. I know what you're
I
talking about.
follow now.
Yeah. The up downs with the turn in as you hit the bottom.
Let's
I know
see.
what you're talking about.
We're yo-yoing back and forth these texts. Got a lot of people with comments here. European soccer has developed way more than soccer has here in the U.S.
I'm
And of
sure
course,
it has.
it's been pointed out on the text line too. The team for the Olympics is the 23 and under, right?
Yes.
And that's all Olympics. So it's a snapshot of our players who are that age. Morocco did have a good team this past World Cup, 4th place in the tournament. U.S. sadly supports more of the American sports like basketball, football. That's what needs to happen for soccer. Okay. So we got a ton of we can't get to all of these things because we got to
we'll get to
transition.
them throughout the show.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's get to the D-Hop thing. DMase, we found out after the show yesterday, out 4 to 6 weeks, it looks like. The team will have their next big practice tomorrow morning. 4 to 6 weeks, a knee sprain is how that's a general thing that's been reported. The team will probably address it tomorrow. We'll see if we get more details on
Maybe not.
maybe not. They don't have to in the training camp. Remember, Mike Vrabel would never say anything like that, a training camp injury. But if that's true, 4 to 6 weeks, that's right around the time, somewhere in that mix for the opening game. He is a little bit older, but what were your thoughts when you heard that D-Hop is out?
One is unfortunate because we don't know quite the severity of the injury, and we I didn't expect for us to know. But when you say 4 to 6 weeks, you hope it's closer to the 4, because then that would allow him to be able to play in the first game. But if it's the 6, if it's a complete 6 weeks, then we're talking him missing a game or 2. Now, how much of an effect will it be? Only these camps will tell, because the first thing I thought was Traylon Burks. This is his opportunity to step up and grab hold of one of these starting receiver spots and force them to play you. That's what you have to do. The lane has opened for you to show that you're consistent, that you can stay on the field, and you get an opportunity to show your playmaking ability. You are the guy that is supposed to be next up in line. I heard Jared talking about it yesterday, and he said Nick Westbrook-Akine. Nah, this has nothing to do with Nick Westbrook-Akine. They know what Nick is. They know how to use Nick Westbrook-Akine. They're not. D-Hop gets injured. To me, elevate Nick Westbrook-Akine is not what you do. You elevate Traylon Burks, and because he's your first round pick, and you need to see, like, okay, is he going to be consistent this season? Is he going to stay on the field? I need to see what I really got in this guy. Nick Westbrook-Akine, I know who he is. I know what he is. He does make plays, but he's not a 1 or a 2. He's a 3 and a 4. He's a good 3 or 4, but this is an opportunity for you to really get a look at Traylon Burks. This is an opportunity for Traylon Burks to really build a rapport with Will Levis, because they're going to need it. And when I heard this, Willie, the first thing I said was, and I texted to y'all, this is why you don't jump the gun and sign an agent individual. I don't care what position, because you never know what's going to happen at the beginning of camp. Anything can happen, injury, anything. I'm not saying that you don't sign him back, but what would have been the rush to sign him back at the beginning of the season? What if you sign him back and then he ends up missing half the season? Now you're on the hook with an aging receiver that is dealing with injuries. Now I expect D-Hop to be back at full go, ready to play, hopefully before the start of the season. But this is a reminder. You don't need to jump the gun to sign an individual because you're scared that he may leave after the year is up. If he leaves, he leaves. That's just, it happens. in sports.
Somebody's ears are burning right now.
Exactly. So
he's a colleague of ours. He starts the show at 2:00.
Yeah. So, but I just think he'll be back. Hopefully he'll be back before the season starts. But if he's not, then if Traylon does come on in these camps and in preseason, I don't think the absence of him will be that tremendous. Now, if Traylon doesn't show, then not having D-Hop is going to be a big deal.
I think there have been wide receiver groups that if you lost a guy like that, you would be panicking right now. Our discussion would be, is there anybody out there they can go get?
Exactly. If this was last year, oh my goodness.
And I think that's probably happened more years than it hasn't, if with the lack of depth they've had. But this particular wide receiver group, no question, you still see Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akine. They have more guys that I think you're saying to yourself they can get by. And Burks is obviously the key. That was the first thing that popped in my mind. This is the opportunity. He's going to get more reps. He's going to get more attention. He's going to get more of the spotlight. Man, I think it could be a positive going forward. Now, you hate to lose a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. The other thing that I would say about it is you don't have to rush him back because of the depth that you have.
Yep.
And I think you want him at 100%, and you have the ability, if he does miss the first game, but you have him back full go the second game, I think that might be the better go rather than, DeAndre, as soon as you can walk, we need you back out there. Because I feel like they have the pieces that they can get by for a game if they have to.
Yeah. They've built up the receiving core over the last, starting last year when they signed D-Hop. And then this year, they signed two other veterans, Ridley and Boyd. This may be the deepest position on the team. I think running back is pretty deep. Chestnut, I think he's a good player. Then obviously you got Pollard and Spears. So I think that position is somewhat deep. But if you look across the board, the receiving core with proven commodities is probably the deepest position on the team right now.
You made a point, I think, too, besides the Burks, that this is worth emphasizing. This is exactly why there is no rush to sign a veteran player, even one as accomplished as DeAndre Hopkins, because you just don't know how this season is going to unfold. You don't know how Burks is going to rise or fall. You don't know how the team is going to handle not having Hopkins, but these are the things that you can evaluate, that you have time to evaluate before you have to make a decision on a guy that is going to cost you money if you decide to commit to next year for Hopkins. And I'm willing to do that and risk losing him down the road. So this is going to be an interesting several weeks here to see who rises up amongst this group of receivers that they have in the opportunity. So, Jared, we told you.
Yeah, and then another, I think this may hurt the Titans from this standpoint. If they were still in the same offense, then I wouldn't worry about D-Hop missing, practice or missing weeks, because he knows the offense. So when he comes back, he'll be able to hit the ground running, and he won't have no, lag or residual effects of not being on a practice field. But that's not the case. This is a new offense, new quarterback, really, even though you've had opportunities to throw with him in a game. But you hadn't had an opportunity to build up the time needed with this quarterback in this offense, because this offense is totally different from the offense that you were running last year. That's going to be the part that I'm going to be watching when he does come back. How quickly can they build up that rapport again? Because, I've heard people, as I'm listening to shows, I've heard people, well, I'm not worried about, him in the rapport with Will Levis because they got it. No. I am worried about that. This is a whole new offense.
Because it's a different offense.
This is a whole new offense. The timing is different. So him not being out there and not going through the reps, time on task, it's valuable. And not being out there, it's going to be missed. And when you do come back, it's almost as if you're starting over again in a sense, because now in this new offense, you have to now find your place back again with the quarterback, the timing and everything else, the route combinations and everything else. There's one thing to look at it on the screen or in a book or in a tape. There's another to actually go out there and run the plays and build
Okay.
that rapport and that timing. They need that timing. So for anybody that says, oh, it don't matter if he misses, 6 weeks. Yes, it does. It does matter, because this is a new offense. This is not the same offense he was under last year. If this was the same offense, then okay. Him missing, whatever weeks, he'd be fine. But this is a new offense. He's learning it just as well as the quarterback's learning it.
Got a text on the text line. Hey, DMase, do you think you could give Traylon a pep talk, pump his tires a little bit, kind of the same way Eddie George did for Derrick Henry?
I mean, I've reached out to Traylon twice. And just as a former receiver, I just gave him just some words of wisdom. That's all. Just encouragement. He understands, he knows what is upon him right now. He knows the situation he's in. Everybody knows it. So my thing was just to encourage him, and to let him, know, hey, listen, I understand where you're at. I've been there. Again, I wasn't a first round draft pick, but I've been there where you don't know quite where you fit on this team, or if you're going to be on this team, period. And it just seems like things aren't going your way, but you're going to get that breakthrough. And when you get that breakthrough, you got to be ready. This is his breakthrough. You hate that it has to come like this with a guy going down, but sometimes that's the only way you can take a step forward. If the guy's in front of you is moved out of the way for whatever reason. Now, good thing D-Hop, he will be back, but this is Traylon's opportunity to take hold of that position and not let it go. Even when D-Hop comes back, do not let it go. And that's the mentality he has to have. Excuse me. This damn retainer, the mentality he has to have. My tongue gets stuck under there once in a while. That's the mentality
The
he has to
retainer is
have.
tough.
Yeah, he has to have that. Like, listen, we I look up to D-Hop or whatnot, but this is a dog eat dog world, and you are hurt. Now I got to take advantage of the opportunity that's presented.
Nothing against D-Hop, but the best thing long term for the team would be for this
If
to be
Traylon
the
comes
moment
on, exactly.
that Burks has, takes full advantage of the opportunities that are there. When we come back, let's get more thoughts on this. Your thoughts of DeAndre Hopkins not being there 4 to 6 weeks with a knee strain. What does this mean for the Titans? 615-737-1025. Our phone and text line driven by Wilson County. Speaking of the phone and text line, don't forget Tim Hasselbeck at noon, and then get your questions ready for DMase. Our Ask DMase segment is coming up at 12:30. Stay tuned. This is Willy and DMase, 1025 The Game.
So every time we meet, she's alright. She's alright. That girl's alright with me. Yeah. Hey, 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 hey.
Back at you, Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. The U.S. in water polo is up 3-1 over France, and 3-on-3 basketball. The men are down 3-2 versus France. So on one event, we're up versus France.
We
On the
don't
other
quite have the
event,
quad box going
yeah,
here, but
we don't
got
have the
two.
quad box. Yeah,
I will say about 3-on-3. I told you this, D-Mace,
Yeah.
about that technical foul thing I saw this morning.
Uh-huh.
When I woke up, well, it was around 4 a.m., get ready for work, whatever. And they had the Latvia versus Netherlands. The game was over, 19-16. And apparently they turned it off the goal zone or whatever. And they had 2 technical fouls after the game was over.
that could have lost them the game or at least
No.
tied it up, but they ended up winning by a point.
They were up 3.
Oh, they were up
and
3.
they get 2 foul shots. The opposing team that's already losing. So, like, what's the point of taking 2 foul shots and losing by 1?
Well, is it like is it a
it's-
point system?
The
I
point
think it's a point,
differential is a big
yeah.
part of it.
Really?
I think it's
In
a point.
fact, the Team USA
He's talking
goal
about 303.
today. Well, but I think it's both.
Both
The-
303 and
like
team.
the Team USA for Steve Kerr, they're talking about not only winning, but they want to win enough to secure the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
And point differential is a tiebreaker that goes into it. I would assume the 3-on-3 is the same.
3-on-3 probably is like that as well. So
That makes more sense then.
those were crucial points at the end of the game.
I was just so confused. Like, what? What?
Yeah, why are they shooting it?
But then I went to
yeah.
swimming. I was like, all right, cool. We're good. I don't need to watch this no more.
So
We're talking to DeAndre Hopkins. Tim Hasselbeck is going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. We'll get his thoughts on it and talk more NFL with him. There's another big injury that took place, and that was Justin Herbert diagnosed with plantar fascia in the foot. And I don't know if you've ever had that.
I don't want it.
I have some friends.
I do not want it. I heard it's painful.
Yeah, and will linger for a
Mhm.
while.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's something they're going to have to manage probably for a
Orthotics
while.
and you got to get
Yeah.
new orthotics and all this other stuff.
So we'll ask Tim about how that could affect him. I'm curious too. We'd love to get some calls and texts on D-Hop, but we kind of covered that. Or we got D-Mace's take on that. The Hall of Fame game, I usually don't even turn on unless the Titans are playing in it. The turf there is awful. Remember a few years ago
Oh, my
they didn't even play the
goodness.
game because the grass was so bad. So they put this turf in, but that turf is bad.
That turf, guys were slipping left and right.
Couldn't
I mean,
plant.
they got to do something. And I was thinking about that as I'm watching the game, and I saw guy after guy slip, especially on the kickoff return, the new kickoff.
Right. And
method.
that's
A
what I'm
few
getting at. I
guys
do want to get your
slip
take on that.
and trying to make a cut. The NFL has to do something about it. I'm sure it's new turf, but you're having that much slippage in games. That's not good. It's a health hazard when it comes to the players. You slip on that thing wrong and you tear a knee or break an ankle or something, man. It's just not good. It was too many guys yesterday. And I know it had rained later in the game, but I don't think it rained early. It may have, but I don't think
they
it
couldn't
rained
finish
early.
the game because torrential rain
Exactly came through. But before that, I'm not sure it rained, but guys were slipping everywhere.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Yeah.
We did, though, get a chance to see about 5 or so of the new kickoffs. And Nick, I'm glad you texted after the first one because I missed the first one. And it dawned on me, I need to watch this game just for that because as soon as they come in, they're like, well, none of the starters for either team are playing, which we fully expect.
Yep.
But I think everybody was curious to see what they would try to do. Nothing out of the ordinary happened. There were no big returns or big screw-ups or nobody really tried any trickeration. But what did you notice about just seeing it with your own 2 eyes in an NFL game for the first time, but what they're trying to do there?
You have to be more than ever. You got to be disciplined with your lanes in this. You have to be disciplined in the old way they used to do it too. But at least if you got out of your lane, you had enough time to regroup and get back in your lane. Now you really don't have that time to regroup. If you get out of your lane, if you try to play the hero, that ball could be, headed down to the other end of the end zone. because things happen so quickly and that runner gets up on you so fast. And if you jump out of your lane or try to play hero ball, that could mean 6 points going the other way. In the old format or the old way they used to do it, you can get pushed out of your lane a little bit, but again, you had time to regroup and get back in the spot you're supposed to be in or close to it. Now you don't have that time because the runner is up on you so quick.
It's such a new skill that it just seems like almost everybody on the field, even if you've been covering kicks or returning kicks for years or blocking on the kickoff return for years, you've got to adjust your technique a little bit, don't you? Because it's a different flow. People aren't moving as fast because obviously you have to wait until the ball is caught in the, what do they call it? The landing zone?
Yeah, the landing
something like that. We got to get used to these new terms. The ESPN broadcast or the ABC broadcast really just had the lines on the field illuminated for where the ball is going to be coming in.
Yeah. What do they call it? The dynamic kickoff now. That's
the
what
dynamic kickoff. Yeah.
Dynamic kickoff right now. Because there is an opportunity for that thing to bust open. And again, it's all about lane placement. And we really didn't see, and I didn't expect to see, and I don't expect to see any in preseason strategy, how they're going to return. I think right now they're just going to get it and return it. They're not, it's straight up blocking, no double team blocks, no none of that. Just straight up blocking and find a hole. I think once we get in the season, I think you're going to start seeing more strategy, double team blocks, trying to find a crease, setting it up to one side. And then you're going to see kickers kicking it like to the corner of that green area to pin him on a corner so he can't run across the field. So you're going to start seeing more strategy as the season starts. You're not going to see any strategy right now, I don't think.
In the preseason games. I think we're all curious about that. Another thing I thought of too is, okay, now that I've seen it a few times, does this make me there's two questions I have. Number one, will the average drive start be drastically different one way or the other than it has been? With these last few years where the excitement's really been taken out of the kickoff largely, there's way less big returns. It's all, but when people are studying, how do I help my team with special teams? The average drive start is a big stat, right? So do we think it'll be drastically different when it's all shaken out?
After watching it for the first time, and again, there was no strategy, implemented here. It was just catch the ball, let's return. I think there will be a noticeable difference in starting point. I think I realize now that this type of return, it's going to need a specific returner.
Okay. Yeah, because that was my question. That was part two of the question.
Yeah.
If we think the injury risk is a little less, does that make you more inclined to use a different type of returner, maybe even one of the more main guys? I
think you would almost get by, at least to start off, not having that fast, quick, small guy, because I think the way they're just up on you so fast that I don't think that guy will get enough momentum to kind of use the speed that he has. I think it's going to have to be a combination of, he doesn't have to be necessarily a blazer, but he has to be able to break tackles, a physical runner, because everything is going to be tight. And if you break one tackle, that could be the difference from starting at the 20, 25, or starting at the 50 or the other side of the 50, or even a touchdown. Guys breaking tackles. No longer are you going to see these quick guys just hitting the hole. It's going to be about guys breaking that first tackle and getting through that first week. Because once you in this new version of it, and again, we haven't seen any strategy on either side, but in this new version, it seems like once you get past that first wave, it just might be you and a kicker. So you get past that first wave a lot quicker.
Joe Buck said it on the broadcast last night, and I hadn't thought that layered about it, but I think he's right. He said this is the biggest rule change in NFL play in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how long we could go back, but this is very different. It just looks very different.
I'm thinking
What the results will be remain to be seen, but this is way, way different than any little tweak of it. Okay, look, we're going to move it to the 35, or
Now
we're going to
we've
change the
had-
ball.
Now,
right?
the
There's a lot
field
of
goal
things.
was a big change, moving it back, back. That has become a big change because now it ain't automatic.
The extra point.
Yeah, the extra point. It ain't
Oh,
automatic
no doubt
anymore.
about it. Yeah.
So now them moving it back, that was a huge change in regards to rules and how the game is played. Beside
But
the,
this might be bigger than that. I
beside the
think.
forward pass, this might be one of the biggest sort of rule changes
Yeah.
within the last
2-point conversion, when they
years.
put the 2-point conversion in right around the time you entered the league, I think, or maybe a year or two before that, they put that in. Going back into the mid 70s or early 70s, they moved. Remember, the goalpost used to be on the
front.
goal line.
Now they moved. Then they moved it
People
back.
were could literally run into it, or the ball could hit the goalpost. I don't know how they ever made it that far.
Yeah, me either.
With that long, with the goalpost there like that, it was quite the hazard. Can you imagine that today?
I would.
It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
But this is a pretty big rule change.
Yeah, it's a big rule change. So teams are going to adapt to it. I wonder I'm anxious to see how the Titans are going to employ their kickoff return team and their kickoff team for that matter, because you have to have a very disciplined kickoff team. I think now, because what the NFL is doing, they're trying to promote, big plays. They're trying to bring back the kickoff return, because the last couple of years, the kickoff return has just been, all right, let's go to the restroom, or all right, let's turn it to another game and watch actual plays rather than the kickoff, because the kickoff has always been, at least for the last 2 years, 2-3 years, just kick it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
There's
way more
no
touchdowns.
plays at all. So this has brought the excitement back to the special teams.
We'll keep coming back to this as we watch it unfold. When we come back, Tim Hasselbeck will join us. We'll talk NFL with him. The injury to Justin Herbert, the injury to DeAndre Hopkins, the new kickoff, his thoughts with that, other league stuff. The 49ers trying to keep everybody happy over there. They got some contract stuff going on over there. We'll hit them with all these issues when we come back here on Willy and DMase, 102.5 The Game. Willy and DMase broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home with a $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willy Donick, Derek Mason here with you, Nick Frazier behind the glass, and we're joined by Tim Hasselbeck, fresh from preseason football camp. Now, Tim, this is the beauty of the theater of radio, right? It's the theater of the mind, right? We're trying to picture, are you more Junction Boys, Herman Boone, or DMase? What's the other side of the coin?
Oh, country club, air conditioned everywhere. They got, televisions everywhere, playing video games at night. They got steak and lobster and all that other stuff, all the stuff to drink. It's just just a country
from
club.
New England. You got to have lobster flying in, right?
Yeah.
And we also
had some lobster.
We also talked about this,
Tim,
the new technology where the air blows through the shoes and everything.
We
and
know
it keeps
y'all
it
got
nice
one
and
of those.
clean, so you don't have the grass stink and wetness. So which side of the spectrum is you now that you're a high school football coach?
Well, like, where do I sit? Well,
yeah,
you can hear my voice. I think I still have it. It's cracking.
It's coming through.
It's tracking a little bit like Peter Brady. I'm not going to puberty. Joe, I don't know that I'm. I don't know that I'm the country club coach that DMase would be, but at the same time, we did enjoy great accommodations at Austin Peay. They feed us extremely well. We do have some of the technology, like super talented kids worth, and so flying the drone, the film practice. So like technology is definitely our friend. At the same time, we returned from camp and some of the kids like, hey coach, like this our equipment is smelling kind of bad. So,
wash it yourself.
I think the smell of high school football equipment and the grass and all of that, I think that will be the same all throughout time, which honestly, like, and you guys may remember this, like, is kind of gross and gnarly as it can be at times. Hopefully it elicits, good memories, for all of our boys, a time in our life one day when they are exposed to that. Certainly brought back some memories for me.
So, Tim, there's a number of NFL stories going around here. Let's start with the quarterback one. Justin Herbert, plantar fascia in the foot. They're going to put him in a boot for 2 weeks. So he's going to miss 2 weeks of camp. What are the layers of this? Because from what I know about plantar fascia, I've never had it, but it can linger. It's something you have to manage for a while.
First thing, considering you're such a runner, I'm shocked that you've never had plantar fascia. That might be why you're still a runner.
Yeah.
I would say this, like, this sounds kind of crazy, but like, I remember when Patrick Willis retired and he answered a question and people were like, why are you retiring so early? And part of it was, he was like, I was sick of complaining about my feet. I was sick of like having that, these just were always bothering me. And I have to say, like, that was me as a player. Like, people would be like, hey, I'm going to hold up in camp. I'm like, I'm not worried about my arm. I'm worried about my feet. Because I was a guy like plantar fascia, like every training camp, that type of stuff. So I say that to say, like, it's kind of a big deal because it can be nagging, and like when your feet bother you, kind of everything bothers you. At the same time, my guess is that it's precautionary this time of year. There are things you can do, from shoot it up to take stuff to get it to down. And so, like, I wouldn't think it's like a big deal right now. But it is something that is annoying. But it is, I will say, like, when I read it and saw some comments on it, my initial reaction was like, yep, I remember that feeling, and it's kind of miserable.
So let's tie it in. Well, I'll let DMase ask you about the D-Hop part of this. But one thing that DMase brought up in the last hour with D-Hop missing time, and it applies to Herb as well, is veteran players, if missing reps in camp, you wouldn't think it's a big deal on the surface, but if it is a new offensive system, does that make you a little bit more worried?
Yeah, I think it does. But like with a veteran player that's been around a number of different systems and has proved that he's just plain old football smart, like I'm less concerned about that, than you would be with a young player who's coming from a system that maybe, wasn't as advanced or complex. So I think that's, I'm less concerned about that, probably more concerned about the idea of, an older player with a knee injury missing a significant amount of time and what the recovery to it ends up looking like. And if that's something that, like, hey, do you get the full recovery and then are you fine later in the year? Or is that something that, hey, here we are in a July injury, it's still bothering you in December?
We'll talk with Tim Hasselbeck, ESPN NFL analyst and head coach of the Yensworth Tigers. They're just getting back home from camp, so I know it went well, Tim. But about the Titans and preseason, because watching last night's game, and I knew Caleb Williams wasn't going to play because that's like an extra preseason game for them.
Mm-hmm.
But not seeing Caleb Williams out there, I understand. How much do you expect Will Levis to play in these preseason games? Because Brian Callahan has already said, listen, the starters are going to play. Now, how much they play, we don't know. But do you see them having a significant amount of playing time this preseason compared to other preseasons?
Yeah, I would guess that, especially coming out and saying that, to say, and you probably remember this DMase from all the different coaches too, right? Like, it would be different. Be like, hey, starters, you're going to play. And if that means you go on, like, 1 5-play drive and score a touchdown, like, okay, we're good. We saw you. Like, nice job. Way to handle your business, right? And then other times where they say, like, hey, we'll probably get you a drive. And then you go in and you have a false start and you have a missed assignment and you go 3 and out. It's like, nope, you're back out there. Like, you're back out there for another drive. And then, if you don't know what you're doing, like, I might actually keep you out there for a third drive. You really annoyed me by not seeming prepared. Like, I think Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan probably have, an old school similar approach, to some of the things probably you and I experienced in terms of, what preseason was like, when you were a player. So to say, like, hey, starters, I'm expecting something out of you. And if you do a great job with it, then boom, you're out. But if it's not, then you may be out there for a few more plays. Like, that would be my expectation. So to say, what do you think? I think if it goes well, 1 drive. I think if the first drive doesn't go well, then maybe we see him for a second drive. And I think it would be something similar to that, probably for both preseason games.
Now, we got word yesterday. It came out yesterday late, per Paul Kowarski. He put out that D-Hop will be missing 4 to 6 weeks. Now, if he's missing closer to 4 weeks, then that will not put him out of any of the regular season games. But if it's more 6 weeks, then I think he'll end up missing maybe 1, 2 at the max. But what do a young quarterback say to that next guy up? Because that next guy up, we assume, is Traylon Burks. Now, Traylon has dealt with his own issues at trying to stay on the field, but he understands that this is the year that he has to put it all together. Now you have one of your top receivers go down, he slides in. What is the conversation like with a quarterback and a receiver, or a young quarterback? I mean, a young receiver and a young quarterback, actually.
Yeah, I think it's one of the beautiful things about football. Like the opportunities coming, and you don't know when they're going to come. You don't know if you'll ever get them again, but now you found yourself an opportunity. Like a little bit like this Traylon Burke situation with D-Hop's, knee injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in some ways, I think you can be like, you can apply that same type of philosophy or situation to Justin Fields, where it's like, hey man, like, Russell Wilson's a starter. Oh, he's got a tight calf. What are you going to do with your opportunity? Did you think that you were going to get another one? Like, you don't know. And I think that's one of the great things about football. It can be one of the discouraging things if, like, you don't feel like the opportunity ever comes again. But, for Traylon Burks, like, it hasn't gone the way that I'm sure he expected it to go because of, additions to the team. He probably feels at times that he's taken more of a step backwards than a step forwards. And so whether I'm a coach with the Titans, whether I'm Will Levis, I'm saying to Traylon Burks, like, hey man, like take advantage of the opportunity, right? Like there should be no reason, that you could look around and blame something else for why it doesn't work out for you. Like, take advantage of this opportunity and never look back. Like, I think that's the message. And I think the guys that embrace that end up playing a long time and having a lot of success.
Now, Tim, I asked this question of Jonathan Hutton yesterday when we had him on about the start of the season. And it just seems like, and it could just be me, it seems like there is a lot more excitement for the beginning of this season than it ever has been, at least to my knowledge, because I think one of the reasons, and tell me if you believe so, is because of the young quarterbacks that are coming in and the quarterbacks that were able to take that huge step last year. Now this league has come, it's become really sort of competitive. There's no, even though Kansas City won the championship last year, you look at the teams this year, they got more teams that can compete with them than I think in any other year prior.
Well, I'm just relieved that you didn't say it was like the new kickoff rule was generating all the excitement. Like, I was thankful that wasn't where you were going with it.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah. So, I think you're right. It's funny. I'm going to be on SportsCenter today and NFL Live, and one of the things we're talking about on both shows is these Madden ratings that came out, for the quarterbacks, and kind of to your point, guys that like CJ Stroud, I think was like the 14th or 15th highest rated quarterback, and
wow,
Jordan Love, I think was 14 or 15. Like, they're way down there, and so yeah, I do. I think this is a time where there are a lot of good quarterbacks, and I think some of it's the rules in the National Football League have been set up for quarterbacks to have success and stuff like that. But yeah, I think there's good quarterback play. I think people can expect good quarterback play, and that's fun to watch, right? Like, if you just look at, the Giants last year and Tommy DeVito's the starter, I think people are like, yeah, I'm kind of good. Like, as much as I like watching Saquon Barkley, like I'm not interested. But I think when you're talking about good quarterback play, people love watching it. People love watching, Patrick Mahomes play and Justin Herbert play, and just Jalen Hurts, just guys like that, Josh Allen, like all the guys. And so I think because of that, yeah, it's one of the things that's led to the NFL being more popular. And I do think there's a lot of build-up, with it.
We're talking to Tim Hasselbeck, talking NFL football with him. And you mentioned the Madden ratings. I was watching the NFL Network show this morning, and they were unveiling the 10 by 10, right, of the top 100 that they do every summer. And it's interesting you mentioned CJ Stroud was so low in the Madden ratings because he was in the top 20 of the NFL's top 100, which was pretty interesting, right? And a lot of people think maybe he's a little overrated in that. So, and that is a vote of the NFL players, voted on by your peers, right? As opposed to the Madden rating, which I'm guessing is very high tech. So, but both, I'm sure, are locker room chatted in training camp circles. So what do you think would bother a player's ego more, having a low Madden rating or being sort of disrespected by your peers?
I mean, I would think, at least for me, being disrespected by your peers, but as somebody that probably has an insanely low Madden rating, I would say that it all hurts your feelings. I mean, like, my awareness is 17. What? Like, no way. Like, what are you talking about? Like, listen, yeah, I don't care how many Pro Bowls DMase is going to. Like, if they had his speed at a 73, he's gonna be like, hold up, wait a minute. Like,
I'll be upset. Yeah.
Let me go find this, tech geek out in Silicon Valley. It might give him a piece of my mind.
Right. It's easy to be mad at that guy.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I would guess, it's your peers. I do think one of the things with like Pro Bowl voting, like back when how it used to go, like, look, there would be teams that, were trying to get their guy into the Pro Bowl, so they maybe wouldn't vote for, a guy somewhere else. That's why those just like overall rankings, maybe would hold a little bit more weight than say Pro Bowl voting, either how it was done or how it's, done now. But, I will say this, no matter how much guys act like they don't pay attention to it, it's impossible not to hear stuff. And then it's even more impossible not to hear stuff now because of, people's access to somebody's timeline on social media or anything like that. And so, guys pay attention to it, right? Like we hear the stories about, I keep a list in my iPad of all the receivers drafted in front of me. Well, stuff like this 100% gets everyone's attention. And that's why for me, like Aaron Rodgers ranked outside the top 10 in the Madden ratings. It was like, like he's kind of he's got an edge enough that like he's going to play 6 more years just because of that and light the league up.
An ongoing theme, Tim, with all of these quarterback signings, we just saw Jordan Love and Tua join the club of getting the big money even before they've won a whole lot. Trevor Lawrence would be in that club. And I was watching a discussion earlier today on Daniel Jones, who I think in most people's mind would be a middle-class quarterback who's probably getting paid more than people think he should, but they decided to stay with him rather than scrap it. And so I wonder, in the coming years, how Will Levis is going to track. Like we're going to hit this a little later in the show. Do you think Will Levis could be better or worse than Daniel Jones? But either way, right, the middle-class quarterback is going to get paid. For example, I'm looking at Spot Rack, and Daniel Jones's cap hit this year is $47 million plus. And so that's a lot for a middle-class guy. So how do you try to fix this if you're a GM? Try to get quarterbacks more slotted to what their actual value is.
You don't fall for the trap like New York did. I mean, Daniel Jones has thrown more than 20 touchdown passes in a season one time. It was his rookie year. Daniel Jones has had 2 of his seasons end, with season-ending injuries. Like, I think I've brought this up with you before about, like, my brother. Like, part of the reason Matthew played 20 years in the NFL is he never finished a season on an IR. Like, I bet, like, DMase, how many times did you end up on the IR?
Never.
How many years you play?
15.
That's why. You know what I mean? Like it's one of these things, like, like people are, probably over the, hey, the best abilities, availability, but like that's a non-negotiable. It's a non-negotiable. So like 2 out of the 5 years, he hasn't finished the season, and the injuries have been significant. So like that right off the bat, you're not dependable. Like you're just not. And then beyond that, the production hasn't been good. And we can blame coordinator, we can blame supporting cast, and some of that might be true. But it's just like, like to me, like you can't do that to somebody at that level. Now, listen, you're still taking a risk when you pay Jordan Love, what you pay Jordan Love and all that stuff, and sample size is small. But you saw a great sample, even though the sample size is small. To a similar thing. Guy throws for 5,000 yards. Some of the things that he's doing is still at the top level of the NFL. Like Daniel Jones has never done that. So like, I don't think you can reward a guy that hasn't been doing some of the stuff at a super high level, meaning either staying healthy, not turning the football over, finding ways to help you win football games. Like, I just don't think Daniel Jones has ever hit any of those benchmarks that you should be looking for to say, yeah, we should reward the guy. I think at least with Tua, like you have, at least with
Trevor,
Jordan Love, I think you have to an extent. So, that for me is it. And look, I also think this: are you available to play? Like that's the biggest one for me. That's why I thought the Giants actually should have drafted a quarterback this past season, because no matter how good you thought that he, really could have been surrounded by a better supporting cast or coaching staff, like he already proved to me he's not reliable health-wise.
I think some owners get to a point where they get scared that they may get left behind, because that's the way it is. If you don't have your quarterback, then, more than likely you're going to keep on falling down that totem pole. And the Giants figure they got at least somebody that's okay, He's not great. He's not horrible, but he's okay. And I guess at what they want him to do. So them giving him the money.
DMase, if I can, I don't mean to cut you off
No,
on
no, go
that,
ahead.
but like to that point,
Mhm.
let me because I know how I feel about it. What do you like if Daniel Jones plays 8 games and Drew Lock plays 8 games? I think Drew Lock is on a 1-year, $5 million deal. Okay,
Mhm.
who plays better between the two of them?
Oh man.
And do you
I think it's
have
Drew Lock.
do you adjust for bang per buck? Right, that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Can you have 2 or 3 other good players
Mhm.
on your roster because you're paying one guy way less than the other?
Yeah, I think Drew Lock plays better.
Oh, okay.
And I think
Okay,
Drew
so
Lock
so
plays
straight up,
better.
even without the money, you would
with-
still
with-
take Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And see, like, that's where I think it's weird, where to say, like, not only are you paying him $35 million more this year, but you're also, chained to a contract that affects you other years. We're talking 1 year, $5 million for Drew Lock,
Mm.
Yeah.
and
Not much risk there.
no. And like, seriously, all 3 of us, who would play better? Like, even if you say like, I think Daniel Jones maybe plays a little bit better, like it at least is making us all think.
Yeah, because you got to justify the money that you're paying him, and if he's only playing a little bit better, then that doesn't make me happy as an owner.
Well, and
If
that,
he's playing a little
no
bit better
question.
than a guy that's getting paid $5 million over here.
and Tim, we brought this up the other day, going the other way. Tua at $55 million and Baker Mayfield at $35 million. Is there a $20 million difference between the two, and what could you do with that other $20 million? That these are questions that I'm sure an owner or a GM has to sort of weigh.
So great example. There's not a $20 million difference between those 2 players, and I'm a fan of Tua. But like, there's not. Now, some of that is like, and we have to take this into consideration. Some of that is like, the market, gives certain leverage, and where you are, like for example, for Baker, I think that Tampa could kind of read the market and say, like, look, there aren't a bunch of teams with the draft coming up, and like whatever to say, like, where are his landing spots? Like, who are we competing against, right? Like, and so that's going to impact, how they have fam versus, look, the situation that Miami's in with Tua, or the situation that Green Bay was in with Jordan Love, or the situation that Dallas is in with Dak. And so sometimes there's just leverage that's going to get the guy more money. But that's why I think it's also one of those situations where you go, as soon as you know a guy can play, don't wait. Like, don't wait, do it. And, that's why I think, like, on the Jordan Love thing, like, as soon as you knew he could play, like, boom, go ahead and get the deal.
Tim, great stuff. We'll continue this theme, I'm sure, throughout the season. Rest up the voice. I know you got more work to do.
Hey, listen, we got a scrimmage tonight.
Ooh.
We got a
Oh,
scrimmage
man.
Okay.
tonight,
So you got 102.5 The Game, you got ESPN, and then you got a scrimmage. That's
you got
we
busy.
need like hot tea with honey. We need voice maintenance here.
We do. Somebody told me, you know what I need? We're in Music City. I need one of these singers to give me some tips on
Some of the secrets.
on throat coat, Entertainers Delight, or whatever it's called.
Fisherman's Friends. Everybody's got their own little potion, right? That works for them.
DMase runs in those circles. I'm sure he's going to test me after.
DMase, look into your Rolodex. See if you can help Tim out.
Hey, listen, my circle is so small, I ain't running nowhere.
All right, Tim. Take care. Good luck. We'll
Thanks a
talk
lot,
to you next
Tim.
Wednesday.
See you guys.
All right. Tim Hasselbeck going a little later in the week than normal with us because he took his Ensworth Tigers out to the preseason camp
Mhm.
at Austin P. So,
Yes.
nice stuff out there, sort of in between the two extremes we
Yeah,
painted
the
in
country club and the
the
boom.
radio theater of the
Yeah.
mind. The Herman Boone or Junction Boys, kind of like old school, down and dirty, no frills, and the country club atmosphere of like the modern, the indoor air conditioned facilities, things like that. So Tim's hanging in there. Great talking football with him. A lot of good stuff there. And that could lead you into what you want to ask DMase this week. It's Ask DMase coming up. We're watching the track and field. I'm already sucked into this.
Oh, me too.
Is this a brand new event, by the way? The guys and girls going same time?
It is, because they're going together. The
Yeah.
guys and
It's a
going
relay.
together. It's a relay. They're 4x4. It's the 4x4. But the men are running with the women. They started doing this in other meets. This is not the first time they've done it.
This is the first time I've ever seen it. It's 2 guys, 2 girls
Yeah.
in the 4x400.
Yeah.
Man, what a race. 400 yards dead sprint. That is awesome.
That's
to
the
watch.
race. I love that race. Man, I love 400.
DMase is all in on the Olympics. You can ask him about any Olympic event. He's probably watched it because he's got the quad box, and he especially loves the track and field. You can obviously talk Titans, D-Hop, any Titans issue. You can tell a dad joke, anything you want. The canvas is wide open. Ask DMase is next here on 102.5 The Game. Our phone number, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, is 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. We're coming back after this.
DMase.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Garrett Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards. for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask DMase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Willy and DMase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Time for Ask DMase here on 102.5 The Game. Willy Donick, Derek Mason here with you. And make sure you call or text our phone line, text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. That number is 615-737-1025. Jump in. We've got a lot of callers already lined up. So let's just fire away. Let's not waste any time. You know all the subjects. Let's start with Alex on line 2, if we can here, Nick. Alex, welcome to the show. You're on 102.5 The Game.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I have a question for DMase about the Titans.
Fire away.
DMase, do you think it's like a good or bad thing that we don't hear about somebody like Peter Skronsky? Because I'm skeptical when like somebody Titans is overly praised in training camp. Because I remember like Taywan Taylor everybody kept saying he'd be the best receiver, and obviously Taywan Taylor didn't do anything. So what do you think if a Titans player like Peter Skronsky is not mentioned that much during training camp? Does that mean it's a good or a bad training camp?
Good question.
Good question. I would tend to lean toward it's a good camp, because if they're not saying anything bad about you, then that's a good thing, because they're relying on Peter. Now, if they were not relying on Peter and they were not talking about him, then okay, it's out of sight, out of mind. He's not going to make the roster, or his roster spot is not locked. But we understand that Peter is one of the key cogs in this offensive line, this revamped offensive line. He's a former first-round draft pick from last season, from last year. So I would like for them to, talk about him a little bit more in regards to how he's looking, how he's adapting to the new offense, how he's adapting to the new teaching by Bill Callahan. But just because I'm not hearing anything, I'm not going to think all of a sudden now it's bad. Sometimes not hearing something is good.
Yes, Peter Skronsky, my stat of the week.
Mm-hmm.
He's only 22. He is younger than several offensive linemen who are starting for the University of Tennessee this year. He's younger, Skronsky, and this is his second year.
Yeah.
In fact, Nicholas Petit-Frere, who was taken off of the PUP this morning, officially, we thought that was coming. He's 24. He's basically the same age as one of the University of Tennessee's oldest starting linemen. It's really weird how that goes down. 615-737-1025 for Ask DMase. Let me go to John on line 3. John, welcome into the show. What do you got for DMase?
Thank you, DMase. Enjoy your show. I'm concerned about the lack of seeing a medal ceremony at the Olympics. I haven't seen the Star-Spangled Banner play one time. I've not seen any medal presentations out of the gymnastics and the swimming. I don't know if it's NBC and the anti-American belief or what it is, but I'm ashamed not to see the medal ceremony.
Thank you for the call. I haven't really paid attention to the actual medal ceremony, like when they win the medal.
I do know this. They ended the coverage last night with the medal ceremony of Simone Biles.
Okay. See, I didn't even see. I didn't see that.
So I've seen a few. I don't know how they're doing that. I have absolutely seen a number of them. I don't know if they're doing less than they have been before. It probably depends on how you're inhaling all of what you can, all these options. We've talked about it since the Olympics started. You can watch 4 sports at one time if you want to. If you want to get on, what is it,
quad
YouTube
box.
TV, the quad box.
You can get the quad box.
Peacock has their thing. USA's got their games. NBC's got their games. There's so many events. I don't know how they decide what they're going, where, and when they're going to it.
When they're going to it, yeah.
But I haven't noticed a huge lack of the medal ceremonies. I did see the one, Gretchen Walsh, the Nashvilleian, who got a silver medal, and she finished just behind her American teammate. I saw that medal ceremony. So I know I've seen several. So I don't think it's any planned thing.
I haven't seen any
John seems
medal ceremony at all. I've seen like them actually winning the medal, meaning them placing first, But after that, I haven't waited to see the actual medal ceremony. I usually move on to another event.
I think
So,
also it's because of the tape delay or whatever
Mhm.
it is, because it's probably already happened when NBC puts it on
Yeah.
the local
Yeah.
television. They're probably speeding it up for time constraints.
I do think there's probably a priority placed on when they win a gold.
True.
Because that's when the national anthem of USA gets played. And
Yeah.
we haven't won as many gold. We have, if you look at the medal thing, they've won a ton of silver and bronze. They're well ahead.
but
in the medals,
China's leading in
but the
medal.
gold,
isn't-
it's
aren't they?
closer. They haven't won as many golds. And I think with track and field, it's going to start
They
coming.
start
So
picking
I
up,
think
yeah.
you'll probably see more as they win more golds.
Yeah, so
Just a
you
theory.
will. Who was the
I don't
last
think
caller?
I don't think it's a political
John,
ploy.
Yeah, I don't think it's a political ploy, John. I think you'll start seeing now that the Olympics is really about to ramp up. You're coming to the finals of the men and women's basketball. As far as track and field, they're starting to get that ramped up. You're going to see more diving and aquatic events. So I think as it starts to near toward the end and some of the bigger events start to happen, I think you'll start to see more ceremonies being shown on television. I'm not saying that you're wrong, John. I'm just saying I haven't noticed it because I haven't seen the actual medal ceremony.
615-737-1025. Let's go to Adam in Portland. Adam, welcome to the show. You're on 1025 The Game.
Yeah, man. So, I do this thing where I'm watching the Olympics, which, by the way, I'm a bigger dude, but like I'm sitting here watching these Olympic sports going, I could do this. Like I could totally, if I devoted myself to it, I'd totally medal.
Archery.
I wanted to see if there's any event that you do that on, or like if we were to get you half drunk and we're like, could you compete in any of these sports? Do you think there's an event? And don't say rugby because that's boring, and obviously you do well in rugby. But like, is there any event that you're like, you know what? If I put my best foot forward for the next 4 years, I could compete and medal at the Olympics.
Okay, thanks,
Adam, thanks for the call. For one, rugby isn't boring. It's
No,
not.
it just says
yeah.
it's boring that you could say that because
Yeah,
your skill
because I
set
can
would
say
transfer.
it. Yeah, it transfer over because I played football. But yeah, you're right. Okay. Let's put rugby aside because I think I would be able to adapt a little bit more to rugby because it has sort of football principles. But I don't think I would win a gold medal in rugby because I'm not going to be that arrogant and say, oh, I can go out there with a year, or 2 years. I can go out there and win a medal. No, these people have been doing this damn near half their life, and they're barely getting medals. Unless you put me on a team that's stacked and I'm only playing a couple of minutes, then yeah, I'll win a medal.
Do you think you could make a kick if you needed to, if you practiced it?
If I practiced it, I
In
think I
rugby?
could. I think I
A drop
could.
kick?
Yeah, I think I could, but I would have to practice a lot because that's an art. That drop kick is an art.
It's a lot easier than you think.
Is it?
Easier.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
Man, I don't know about that.
Let
It's
me
like an
see.
angle
like that.
That's like a kickball. You just drop it on your foot and you kick it.
Okay, if you're asking a 50-year-old Derek Mason, then none of these games, none of them, even if I practice for the next 2 years, unless you gave me some type of steroid or something, nah, I'm not competing in any one of these sports.
The fountain of youth.
Exactly. Unless you put me in a fountain of youth, I'm not competing in any of these sports.
Answer one question, DMase. How
What's
the
that?
hamstrings?
Hamstrings are good.
Then you can compete in everything.
No, because I ain't really had to open up.
My hamstring, not so good.
If I have
Willy,
to open up,
hamstring, not good. Right
my
now.
hamstring may pop, man. But I try to keep it all in the minimum. Let me see. I'm trying to think a sport in the Olympics right now. You know what?
If you put your mind to it,
row.
Okay.
I think if I was on a row team, I think because it's a team, not the single row or the double, because the double you still got to do a lot. Well, when you do a team, you got to do a lot too. But I think if I was to practice 2 years at my age, if you put me with 3 other guys that are legit,
yeah,
I think I can
Right
hold my
training.
own. Yeah, I think I can hold my own in rowing. Yeah, that's
Okay,
probably
that's a good
one
guess.
event.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
good one because we used to debate this all the time. In high school, we had a rowing team. And they worked really hard.
Oh yeah,
and we used to make fun of it. Like anybody could go out there and
No,
row.
anybody
Then you
can
get on that
row.
rowing machine in the weight room. You're like,
Exactly.
wow, this is no joke. All right, when we come back, we're going to take more calls and texts for DMase. It's Ask DMase here on 102.5 The Game on this Friday afternoon. You're listening to Willy and DMase. Back here on 102.5 The Game, Willy and DMase, and we are coming at you from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Ask DMase from now until the top of the hour. So get your calls and texts in at 615-737-1025, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let me get to Joe, new listener on the line with us. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Absolutely. Thanks for calling in, Joe.
I just moved to Tennessee a month ago. I'm from Ohio. I'm a big Browns fan, but I wanted to give you guys a shout out because you guys are really good at what you do.
Thanks
Joe.
a lot.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What part of Ohio, Joe?
I lived in Ashland.
Okay, so what part of the state is that?
An hour from Cleveland.
Oh, an hour from Cleveland. Okay.
So would that be south of Cleveland?
It would be south, yeah.
Okay. My dad grew up in Ravenna, Ohio, not far.
Sure.
And I have relatives near Columbus. And my
Gotcha.
son will be going up. We're going to be heading to Ohio in a couple weeks here because my son's going off to college at Denison University.
Congrats. Tell them congratulations.
All right. So you got a question for DMase, Joe?
Yeah, my one question is, do you have any specific memory in a Browns game or with the Browns? And then if you don't have anything, what are your thoughts on the Browns this year?
Good question,
Thank you,
Joe.
Joe.
Thanks for calling
in. Continue to listen, man. It's always good to have a first-time caller, first-time listener call in. So thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. This is crazy because whenever we have conversations like this, the first stadium I bring up is Cleveland. I love Cleveland fans. It's just like Cleveland fans are like, they're the best. Now, Lansville fans, they're great, but Cleveland fans, the dog pound, like if you can't appreciate fans of opposing teams, then like Brown fans, then you can't appreciate just fans in general, like how much they cheer for their team. The Browns have been horrible for the most part, and those fans still show up and they show out and they get into it with you in a friendly manner, but they're heckling you and you heckle back at them. But I just love Cleveland fans because it takes me back to the days I used to watch Bernie Kosar and those guys back when that original, Cleveland team before, they sort of moved to Baltimore and all that other stuff. But I used to love watching the Cleveland Browns back in the day. And then getting an opportunity to play in that stadium against that team. Man, that was one of the highlights of my long, illustrious career, just playing in front of that fan base because they're wonderful. Now
I remember one moment that you tell me.
That Blizzard game we had,
the
Blizzard game we had there. I think it was
2000, I think.
Was it 2000 or 2001?
I think it was
2000 because I ended up breaking the all-time record in Cleveland.
All-purpose yards,
all-purpose record
returning and receiving. You caught a touchdown early in that game
before it started snowing and everything else.
It was coming down. I think by the end of the game, nobody and you guys got ahead, and I think Eddie George probably carried it 40 times.
He rushed close to 200 yards, I thought. Yeah.
But it was like, look, it's not worth trying to throw. Like there was a foot of snow about. Like it seemed like it. It was really affecting how much you could run or throw the ball.
That storm coming off that lake, coming into that stadium. I mean, we could barely see. Refs wasn't calling any penalties. They were ready to get out of there just as quickly as we were. So there was no unnecessary stoppage in the game. But as far as the Cleveland Browns this season, I think they got a good team. But I think everything obviously is predicated on whether Deshaun Watson can be the quarterback that they expected him to be when they signed him to that lucrative contract. They got the playmakers on the outside led by Amari Cooper, who just got an extension or just got some money added to his contract. Now, the running back is going to be the big story. Can he come back fully healthy and ready to go? Because that was a gruesome injury Nick Chubb had last season. I didn't even want to watch it. They showed it once or twice. I couldn't even watch it. But if Nick Chubb come back and he's close to what he has been, then even, without him last year, they made it to the playoffs. Add him in there, and hopefully Deshaun, that's what they're hoping. Deshaun really shows something. then this is a team to contend with. I think they are a playoff caliber team if Deshaun Watson plays to the level that he has played in the past.
Let's get to Doug, who is on line 4. Doug, welcome to the Ask DMase segment. Welcome in.
I am a frequent caller, and I know DMase has information across the board. Violins or refrigerator?
Violin or refrigerator?
Let me give you the background.
Okay.
The refrigerator's been making a noise for the last 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
I get up this morning and I say, you know what? It's been here since I had the house. Go get you a new one, baby. That dreaded date night is tomorrow. And it's the violin guy. I hate it when it's called date night. I'd rather she say we're just going out. The window of delivery is what? Right when we're supposed to be going. I have to let them know in about 45 minutes. DMase, you tell me what I need to do.
Ooh, first you need to talk with the missus.
She's in the next room. I'm whispering right now.
Yeah. First, you need to run it by the missus. Like, hey, listen, I know we got plans, but they gave this delivery window, and you know what delivery windows is always more so toward the end than the beginning. Exactly. It's always that full 4 hours rather than the beginning of the 4 hours. So you may just want to have to give her a heads up and, you know, just schedule the date night, you know, not reschedule it, but no, you can't reschedule. But look at
we got to listen to some violins, play some music. I'm saying nothing. I'm just waiting for the time to eat. But she's called it date night.
Oh yeah, once she call it date night, yeah, you can't cancel. You can't.
But she's also excited about cleaning out the refrigerator.
Well, okay, now what you
gonna tell me is I need to start stretching my hamstrings. That's what you're fixing to tell me. I'll listen.
Well, what you need to do is, one, you need to help her clean out that refrigerator. That's one you need to do. Help her clean out the refrigerator. And as you're helping her clean the refrigerator, mention to her, hey, babe, I know we got date night tonight and date night is on, but I want you to know that the delivery window is between such and such and such and such. Now, we can go, but we may miss the window for the refrigerator. So you got to put it back on her.
I think that
you have to.
I think you let her make the decision.
Exactly. You got to make her decision. Yeah. Let her make the decision. You have to.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of hamstring talk today, though, on the show.
Something's gonna happen.
But Doug, you better help her clean out that refrigerator. I tell you that.
That's the first thing.
Yeah.
I agree. Good advice by DMase. Let's go to Eric on line 1. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, I've got a dad joke. Now again, I have to warn you, I have no idea how this is going to go over, but but here goes. Guys, have you heard of the nose joke?
Nah, I haven't heard of the nose joke.
Oh man, that's terrible. Like, you know what? I think I forgot. Oh, I think I've blown it.
He's blown it. He blew the nose joke.
Yeah. I thought you'd like it. Actually, believe it or not, that's a joke I thought of on my own. I'm sure somebody else probably told it, but yeah.
Oh,
I figured I'd go with like
solid.
Solid one. I like that.
Solid dad joke right there.
I can take that to my kids. I can take that to my grown kids.
Yeah, like the jump
they say.
Kid. Okay, DMase, my question for you is this. Usually in both conferences, you have a team that made the playoff the previous year and misses it the next year, and a team that did make the playoff the year before and makes the playoff. Who is your team, one team in both the AFC and the NFC, you would say that made the playoffs this past year that won't make it this year, and the other team that hasn't made the playoffs in both AFC and NFC last year that you think is going to make it this year? Just get your thoughts. Guys, y'all take care. Have a great weekend.
All right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate the call. The one team that I think will not make it that made it last year, gosh, that's a tough one. Cleveland, as much as I like Cleveland may be that team. That division is so tough, that AFC North. Cleveland may be the team that's left out. That's going to be a war of attrition, that AFC North. So I'm picking Cleveland as the team that made it last year, but will not make it this year. I think they still may win 9-10 games, but they're not going to get in even with winning 10 games because the AFC North is going to be so tough. The team that I think that didn't make it, I got the Titans. I think the Titans are a team that can make the playoffs. I think they are the team because I'm looking at the teams that didn't make it. I don't think Vegas, I don't think they've improved that much or if at all. The Chargers, LA Chargers, what they're dealing with their quarterback and plantar fasciitis. And then a new head coach, even though I love Harbaugh, I'm not sure he can get them on the playoff road this year, maybe next year. Yes, definitely next year, but not this year. But then the Buffalo Bills. They're a team that made it last year. I don't think they're going to make it this year.
You don't think the Bills are going to make the playoffs?
I don't. I'm not as high on Buffalo as everyone else is. I'm just not. They've lost. People don't understand. Josh Allen, who I think is a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. I think he's a really good quarterback. We have seen Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs, and he doesn't have Gage either. We've seen him without those guys. Granted, it was his first couple of years, but we've seen him without those guys, and we've seen him with those guys. I'm not sure that he's going to be the quarterback he has been the last 3 or 4 years this season. No Stephon Diggs, no Gage. I know they got Keon Coleman, and I like Keon Coleman, but he's a rookie. And you're telling me you're going to put all of that on a rookie to expect him to go out there and be what Stephon Diggs and Gage was? No, their receiving core is not deep. They're one injury away from having nobody. I think they lost some things on defense. So they're another team that I think that made the playoffs last year that may not make it this year. And again, they may win 10 games. They may win 9. I'm sure they're going to win 9, but they may win 10 and still not make it.
We're going to talk about that in the next hour a little bit. Thanks for all the great response to Ask DMase. A lot of fun questions today and this week. So we will continue in the next hour, and we will get down to the Titans and the over-under, what some people are saying. We're also going to get into the Daniel Jones situation the Giants are in and ask ourselves, is Will Levis going to be better than Daniel Jones? How bad is Daniel Jones? They're paying him like he's supposed to be good. He hasn't been great. What does all that mean? Where does Will Levis end up slotting in down the road when we value quarterbacks? We'll get into all of this. We'll also get DMace's take on the DeAndre Hopkins issue if you missed our discussion about that earlier in the show. A big third hour coming up here on 102.5 The Game. Hour number 3, Willy and DMase here on 102.5 The Game. Don't forget, the Sounds are back in action against Gwinnett later today. First pitch at 6:05. The pregame show will start at 5:50 on 94.9 The Fan. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and 949thefan.com. So Sounds Baseball, 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks, Family Leisure, 5 Points Roofing, Caudle Vet Clinic, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. So Sounds continue to roll on here. Down the stretch, Brewers trying to hang on to their lead in the NL Central. Brewers and Braves just went head-to-head for a series here recently. So, DMase, let's just recap the big story, because I know a lot of people who are just tuning in, they want to hear what you think about where the Titans go with DeAndre Hopkins being out for 4 to 6 weeks. We discussed it a lot in the first hour of our show, but I know a lot of people come and go. So just your thoughts on where they go from here in the near future, and maybe the big picture, what this means.
I think right now, for the short term, this gives someone like Traylon, and I'm just talking about for the short term, but Traylon does factor into the long term of how I see it potentially going. Short term, this gives Traylon Burks and it gives some of these other receivers an opportunity to get more snaps in practice and potentially more time to play in preseason games, because D-Hop is not there. Now, D-Hop wasn't going to play much in preseason. I'm sure he was going to play some, but not much. So these guys, they're not gaining that much more playing time than if, D-Hop was healthy. So, but for Traylon, this is an opportunity for him to really step in and prove to them that, he should be a vital part of this offense. This is an opportunity for Traylon Burks, because sometimes, when you ask for an opportunity, you don't know how it's going to come, but you got to be ready for it. It seems like Traylon's ready. You never want that opportunity to come because one of your teammates gets hurt, but that's the name of the game. Sometimes guys, that's how I got my opportunity. Kevin Dyson went down and I stepped in and did not relinquish it, not one bit. That's what Traylon Burks has to do it. This is an opportunity for him because it happened to somebody. It happened to him last year. He was playing well. He got hurt. Somebody else was able to come in and take advantage of the opportunity they got, and along they went. So this is an opportunity for Traylon to exert himself and to show this coaching staff that he deserves more playing time, even when D-Hop comes back, that he deserves the playing time that he's been wanting since he's gotten here. So he needs to take advantage of it. Other guys behind him need to take advantage of it. And I think if he does, even when D-Hop comes back, if Traylon has taken full advantage of it, and you have seen a noticeable difference in Traylon and in the offense, then there may have to be discussions of, hey, leaving him there and sort of changing up the routine. Changing up the lineup a little bit. That's if Traylon takes full advantage of this opportunity. Now, if he doesn't, you can't blame anyone but yourself, because the obstacle has been moved out of your way. However it happened, it happened. Now it's your opportunity to step in and take hold of it. Don't relinquish it. Take it and make it yours. So when he does come back, they got to make a decision now. And you want that decision to be hard. You don't want that decision to be, oh, man, I'm glad D-Hop is back because this guy, good Lord, he can't play. No, you want the decision to be, man, what do we do now? Because Traylon has really shown the growth and the progress. What do we do as a team? That's what you want the talks to be in those meeting rooms.
It is a fascinating turn of events here, because how much have we talked over the last couple years of the evolution of Traylon Burks being anointed the guy, the replacement for A.J. Brown, only to go from that to now he's got to fight his way into playing time. And now here he is with a golden opportunity that's opened up for the next few weeks. He'll be back in the spotlight. Whereas before he maybe was able these first couple weeks of camp to be operating under the radar a little bit. That won't be the case anymore. I think there'll be an increased observation level of what he's doing, rep in and rep out, because now they really could use him jumping up. And we've said this all along. For the long term, it's probably Treylon Burks is more valuable long term as an asset than DeAndre Hopkins. As great as Hopkins is, he's year to year. And they've got a lot of guys who are more year to year at this stage of their career. And they have a huge dearth of players on the roster that are foundational pieces that you're building around. They're looking to fill those slots. You need those guys. And this is kind of like the last crack for Burks to become one of those guys before they have to sort of move on, right?
Yeah, because if he can't take advantage of this opportunity, they're done with him. I'm telling you that. And I would tell Treylon that to his face. If you do not take advantage of this opportunity that has opened up for you, they're done with you, because there's not much more they can do. The obstacle has been removed because of injury. Now you get to step in and show us what you're really about. And Tennessee Titans fans, if y'all want to see the best version of this team, then y'all need to hope that Treylon figures it out. Y'all need to hope and pray. Don't say, well, nah, D-Hop, we can't wait for D-Hop to come back. But this is the opportunity where Treylon needs to take it and run and become the alpha receiver in that bunch. Because if he becomes the alpha receiver in that bunch, now my receiving core is even stronger. Actually, now my receiving core is much better, because now this guy has figured it out. He's the one guy within our offense in the receiver room that just looks different and could potentially play different from everybody else. And it'll be noticeable. And you know who will hate it? Opposing defenses. They like it right now because Treylon, they figured Treylon hadn't figured it out. But once he does, and this is an opportunity for him to do it, once he figures it out and get everything back in line, if he hits, this offense goes from being to one of the better offenses in the National Football League. I'm just telling you that. And he is the guy that can make it go from the receiver position. But it's all on him.
I also think about it this way, that this is a position group that once upon a time, if you lost a guy of the caliber of DeAndre Hopkins, you were up the creek without the paddle.
Last year.
Up the well-known creek.
You know what creek we talking about.
Yeah. It's got a different shade of water than some creeks. And you don't have a paddle.
Is coming out of there.
Yeah. I mean, we think about some wide receiver cores, how thin they've been there. And this group, where you're sitting to yourself, okay, who do they still have? Nick Westbrook-Akine, Kyle Phillips. We're talking about guys that, like Kyle Phillips a couple years ago. Hey, Kyle Phillips, he could start. Like he was in there the first game against the Giants. Then he got hurt.
And now recaptured that.
And he is a guy that does usually catch your attention in the preseason games, in the practices. He's good at that. He catches passes, and you kind of get your hopes up, and then he hasn't been able to stay on the field. But he's still there. He's gone from being a guy that you were hoping to count on to, well, you still have him way on the bottom of the depth chart. So he's still around, just as an example. You still have, obviously, the guys like Ridley you've invested in. Boyd is a new guy. Now we're talking about Burks. There's still some things where you're saying, okay, they have some paddles to go up the creek, right? Without D-Hop for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And you have to hope that D-Hop is going to be okay fairly early in the season. But I think the luxury they have is they don't have to rush him. I think they rushed Treylon Burks back.
They had to last year, yeah.
And that backfired on him.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever truly over the knee injury. And then he has a concussion and then everything goes downhill. It ain't the same. They're not using him. It's just so much that went on last year that I'm sure Treylon wants to forget about it, because I want to forget about it. I'm not even Treylon. But again, this opportunity isn't for Nick Westbrook-Akine. It isn't for Kyle Phillips. It isn't for Jackson. It isn't for the new receiver they got. it's for Traylon Burks. This door has opened for him, albeit his injury. And we do hope that, at least I do hope that D-Hop is back sooner rather than later, because having him on your team and ready to go makes you a much better team, or a much better receiving core than not having him. But this is the opportunity that Traylon has been waiting on, where you get a true look at what he is, how far he's come, the progression that he's made in the last 2 years, going on 3 now. So if you can't take advantage of this, then I don't know what to say, but I do believe he will. I think as the practices start to go on, I think Will Levis will look to him more and more and more to try to build that rapport with him, as he's building it with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. But if he hits the way that I believe he can, then you get a healthy D-Hop back in the mix. I'm talking about potentially rivaling the Houston Texans as far as receiving core. I'm not saying team. I'm just saying as far as their receiving core versus this receiving core.
And that's where
I may be picking this receiving core if Traylon hits and when D-Hop comes back.
And I do see that from a depth standpoint. The key will be, are you getting the most out of all those guys?
Exactly.
And that's where role definition and understanding the new system and the quarterback distributing the ball, all of these things are big, big question marks. So I'm still, and I know that some people are probably thinking, they're going, man, DMase is really optimistic about this group. Speaking of that, when we come back, we are going to play a clip of a preview for the Titans that I thought was pretty well done. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this. And Nick, maybe you can explain where we found this thing. It's on YouTube, but it's a condensed, intense 9-minute preview of, they use the ceiling, right? So we need the sound clip of Michael Jordan when we come back as well. The ceiling is the roof, but they're trying to decide how much better the Titans are or worse, and what is their projected range of wins for the coming season. DMase has been, now the last couple of days, you've been talking about double-digit wins here. Somebody asked you and asked DMase, and you're thinking this team has got a chance to be good. I'm still as optimistic and glass half full as I am in general. I'm not there yet. I see a pathway, and that's what we're going to discuss in the next hour. That's the next segment. We talked about it a lot yesterday, but we're going to give you a little more outside perspective from YouTube when we come back. And we're also going to get into Will Levis's part in this and where he hits in a relationship with where Daniel Jones is on the arc of his career. We'll explain more when we come back in our next segment here on Willy and DMase, 102.5 The Game.
Many upgrades. What's the deal with their 6.5 win total? The answer, their schedule. Tennessee plays just 3 teams with over-unders of 6.5 or lower. That's one of the lowest totals of any team this season. New England, who they get at home. Minnesota, also a home game. Washington, who they get on the road. They'll find a way to get a couple interdivision wins too, but you can see it. They play a ton of teams with high expectations. 5 wins, then, is our floor based on a very bumpy road. If Levis makes the jump with the improved pass catching group, let's give their roster a 9-win type status. Now they beat Chicago week 1. Find a way to take the Jets, get a win in LA versus the Chargers, and split with the Texans. 9-8 isn't a high ceiling, but it would be serious progress under the circumstances.
The ceiling is the root, the root, is the root, is the root. I wish you guys nothing but best. The ceiling is the root. I wish you guys nothing but best. The ceiling is the root. I wish you guys nothing but best. The ceiling is the root.
Man, the internet is undefeated, man. The internet is undefeated.
Oh, man.
God.
I've never heard that.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard that one before, too.
We heard Eddie
Either.
Murphy singing earlier. Now we have Michael Jordan singing.
He's got the chords.
Ceiling is the roof. Oh, well. There we go.
Wow. So what we just heard was the NFL put out on YouTube. It's in. We obviously don't have time to play the whole thing. It's about 9 minutes long, but I think it'd be a good exercise for a hardcore Titan fan. They basically go through all of the numbers and position groups. They go through the lineup and they ask themselves, have they upgraded at this position? And this has been your position, DMase, in terms of last year to this year. If you do that exercise, you'll find yourself saying, okay, well, this guy that they, for the corners, for example, and this piece that we just played the tail end of acknowledges that they should be much better. The corners they brought in on paper way better than the corners that are going out. They've added depth at wide receiver. The offensive line, you see what they've done there. It can't be worse. All of that stuff. They talked about Will Levis's, and they conclude that the floor for the Titans is 5 wins. The ceiling, the roof, is 9 wins. Now your ceiling is a little bit higher, right? You've said 10 is a possibility.
Yeah.
And you're sticking to that.
Yeah, I'm sticking to that. Just and that's if they don't have any major injuries. And when I mean major injuries, I mean guys being out for the season, half the season. Now they're already dealing with not an injury, but a potential suspension of Arden Key. I think they can, depending on how Sweat plays in the middle and how fast they can sort of get themselves acclimated to this new aggressive type of defense that Denard Wilson wants to play, I think the defense would be okay without Arden Key for the first 6 games. I think somebody's going to show up and show up big. I don't know who that guy's going to be, but I think it will be a guy. And, it just to make them better as a team once Arden Key comes back. But I just think they are better 11 on 11 across the board. When you're talking the secondary, you add an all-pro corner with a very good corner in Awuzie and Sneed. Obviously, Sneed is the all-pro corner. Then you add a veteran guy like Adams to the safety position, along with Hooker and whoever else is playing that position. So to me, that's an upgrade. Now, granted, Adams has to show he's closer to what he was 2 or 3 years ago than what he has been the last year and a half, 2 years. And a lot of it had to do with injury. So, you figure he's completely healthy now, so you'll get a better version of Adams. Obviously, we know what they did with the defensive front, going to get Big Sweat, having Simmons there. That tandem, I think, is going to be one of the better tandems in the National Football League. So that's just on defense. And then you throw in, McQuarrie from last year, some other guys that they had. They bring Murray over. Now, Murray has to prove that he can play in his defense because if he was that type of dude, then the LA Chargers would have kept him because he was their first round draft pick.
And that piece that we listened to, we didn't play that part of the clip, but they look at Murray coming in, Alshire going out as basically
It's
a
wash because both of them were 100 tackle guys.
Yeah.
Both of them were not big sack guys anyway. But I think in this new defense with that front being so aggressive, and again, a lot of it hinges on whether Sweat can be a 4-down guy if they need him to be, then you're talking about 2 big bodies eating up at least 3 blockers. That gives those linebackers an opportunity to get to the quarterback or scrape and hit the running back in the backfield, getting those A and B gaps. So that's just defense. Offensively, this is a revamped wide receiver core, a much better wide receiver core. The tight ends are going to be better because that's just competition. Wiley and Chig, those 2 guys are battling. And that's one thing I do agree with Jared with, that tight end battle is going to be one to watch. It really is, because I like Wiley. I liked Wiley as a rookie. But he and Chig are going to be pushing for that starter. So that's going to make the room better. Obviously, the receiving core is revamped. They're better. The running back, it's a wash in a sense, but I don't think they got worse. You see what I'm saying? I don't think they got worse, but I don't think they're better.
Well, and this is where we arrive at the biggest point that this piece made. They acknowledge that they have made a lot of roster gains. Now, again, from last year to this year, that's not saying much in terms of Super Bowl contender. But are they better than they were last year? That's the first step, right? Let's hope that they are better than they were last year, and we see where it goes from there. Their concern, though, is the schedule. And this is something I had not looked that hard into. Do you buy this, though, that the schedule is the reason, as much as anything, that the floor is so low and the ceiling is basically low, right? Between 5 and 9. Because they think that's, like, for example, Detroit, Los Angeles. A lot of people really are high on the Rams. I'm a little surprised, but people really think the Rams could be very good.
It's all Harbaugh. It's the Harbaugh effect.
The Rams?
Yeah. The Rams. It's the Harbaugh effect.
Oh, I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at the Chargers. Oh, who they played. I'm confused. You're right. It is Harbaugh. It's the Chargers. The Chargers, that's a big swing game, right? Yeah. Based on that. But the exercise went down through, and they looked at only 3 games against the bad teams. Washington is one. New England is one. I'm forgetting the third. Well, maybe it is Los Angeles. The other one? No. There's one other one that looks like a potential win on paper that I'm forgetting. And then they said they're going to get a couple of division games in there somewhere. But after that, there's not a lot of sure wins on paper there.
No, it's not. But
this will change, though, as injuries start happening.
We know how this thing goes. You look at a schedule and you say, man, whew, that's a daunting schedule. And then you get into the schedule and things start falling apart for other teams. Injuries start to occur. Your team's playing a lot better than what you expected them to play. And you look at the end of the season and what was supposed to be this tough schedule, even though I think every schedule in the National Football League, I don't care if you're the top team or the bottom team, because of the quarterbacks in this league, especially the AFC, they have a bunch of really good quarterbacks. There's no gimme games. Anybody that says there's gimme games, there's not. Even against Washington, I think Washington to be a better team than what they were last year. What other teams? Even New England.
Minnesota's the third team that they circled as the winnable game. Minnesota, Washington, and New England are the 3 weakest teams on the schedule right now,
based upon their schedule last year, right?
Yeah, and what they look like they're going to be this year. This is all subjective, right? But other than that, you don't look and say there's a lot of sure wins. And the very first game against the Bears will be one of those swing games, right? Yeah. Because I think the Bears will be clear favorites. We already looked at it. They are a favorite as they sit here now. But like you were getting at, things are going to change.
Yeah.
The perception of these teams are going to change throughout the season. So I don't know, but it does look like the schedule is tougher this year than it was last year.
Yeah, if you're just looking at, the records of the teams that they have to play this year, you look at their record last year, you got to look at first and foremost, you look at the two teams that had them, Houston and Indianapolis. Both of those teams had over 8 wins, I believe. And then Jacksonville had 8 wins too, I believe. They had over 8 wins or 8 wins. The Titans obviously was the last place team in that division. So things will change as the season go on. I think there's going to be tough regardless. But again, if you're asking me 11 on 11, and I know it's not that black and white, I understand that. But if you're asking me 11 on 11, how does the Titans fare? I think they look good. If you're talking about how much this team has improved on paper, they revamped their secondary, which was one of the worst in the National Football League as far as, giving up, quarterback ratings and all this other stuff. They were one of the worst in the National Football League. So they revamped that. They got bigger in the inside with Big Sweat and Jeffrey. Obviously, I know they lost to Nico Autry, but they're hoping that guys like Murray and Gibbons can really come on this season. Gibbons wasn't horrible last year, but he can be better. So if you look at what they've done from a defensive standpoint, and then you flip it on the offensive standpoint, we just got to assume they upgraded the offensive line. They definitely upgraded the receiver position. The running back position is still a good position for them. The tight end position is going to be an upgrade because those two guys are going to compete. And then all you do is look at the quarterback. And if the quarterback can just play good football, he doesn't have to be great. He doesn't. If he just plays good football, this team, 11 on defense, 11 on offense, they can compete with every team in their division.
Mm-hmm.
Jacksonville, Houston, Indianapolis. They can compete with each one of those teams, but they got to stay healthy.
The bulk of those games in the division are late in the season. Now, speaking of the quarterback, I heard a very interesting discussion this morning on the NFL morning show. Good Morning Football is what it's called. And they were talking about the quarterback situation for the Giants and Daniel Jones. And it got me thinking a lot about Will Levis and where he is now, where you want him to be 2 or 3 years from now. You hope that you're in a position where you want to extend him to a second contract. But this is the dilemma the Giants have gotten in with Daniel Jones. Remember last year, and this was documented a lot in the offseason, their choices. Either stay with Daniel Jones on the second year of a big raise in his contract. After 2 years ago, he led them to the playoffs, and he won a playoff game in Minnesota. On that day, you're thinking, hey, Daniel Jones, he sort of rescued himself. He's okay. Maybe he was worth the first round pick. Maybe he's pretty good. And then regressed last year along with the whole team. And they decided to stick with him rather than scrap him, eat a bunch of money, trade a bunch of assets to move up and draft one of the rookie quarterbacks in this past drafts class. So they've stuck to their guns. They're going to pay Daniel Jones, who makes this year $47.8 million against the cap. That's a lot. That's just under the top guys. His base salary is $35.5. So here is John Mara on Good Morning Football today of why they arrived at that decision. He has gone out and said, give the guy a chance. Let's see what happens here. So this is Good Morning Football on the NFL Network.
How do you feel about Daniel Jones, that contract, and where things stand now? Yeah, I'm still happy we gave him that contract because I thought he played really well for us in 22. Last year he got hurt, and let's be honest, when he was playing, he weren't blocking anybody. So let's give him a chance with a better offensive line with some weapons around him to see what he can do. I was nervous about giving up too much to go and get a quarterback, but I was prepared to let him do that. That's what they wanted to do. We made a decision to stay with Daniel, and he had a weapon for him. And I think that's going to work out for us.
So that's John Mara. And basically, he's telling the Giant fans, he's the owner of the Giants, John Mara. His family has owned the Giants for a long time. He basically said, I let my personnel people decide if they wanted to give up the resources to go up in the draft and draft a quarterback, but they decided stay with them. So let's give him a chance. We didn't block anybody last year, so let's see what he looks like this year. First of all, do you think that's a good move for the Giants? They drafted Malik Neighbors because they held on to their first-round pick, so they got him another receiver. They're trying to fix the offensive line. But it's interesting to watch the arc of the Giants, who looked like they were awful. Then remember, they beat the Titans on opening day here a couple years ago, had a good year, surprised everybody by making the playoffs, won a playoff game, and then sunk last year. So here they are with Daniel Jones. Do you think it was the right move to stay with him, or should they have moved on and just bit the bullet?
Oh, man. Honestly, because, listen, and I don't think Daniel Jones is an all-world quarterback. I think he's more so in between that 18 and 25 type of quarterback, or 17 to 25 type of quarterback. But they did deal with a lot of issues last year, sort of like the Tennessee Titans. So you really couldn't get a true barometer of who he was coming off of that good season that he had.
And he got hurt.
Exactly. And he gets hurt. So he gets hurt, bad offensive line, not really any pass catchers. You want to see him under ideal conditions. Why? Because the Giants, what many people don't know, the Giants are used to winning Super Bowls with marginal quarterbacks. Phil Simms, good quarterback, was never rated in nobody's top 10 or top 12.
Good, solid quarterback.
Exactly, solid quarterback. Eli Manning, solid quarterback.
Jeff Hostetler.
He gets more because of his last name than anything, but he was a okay quarterback. He was a good quarterback, solid quarterback. Yeah, he wasn't bad. He wasn't elite. He was a solid quarterback. They won Super Bowls with those type of quarterbacks, but they surrounded those guys with a damn good defense and some playmakers on offense, a few playmakers on offense, and you let your defense do their work. Now, can the Giants still win in that matter? Can the Giants still win in that way, considering the NFL has changed? Even from the last time they won a Super Bowl, the NFL has changed. It was completely more offensive driven, throwing the football. Daniel Jones may not be the guy you want throwing the football 30, 35, 40 times a game. So what do? You just surround him with players. You go out and get a Neighbors. You beef up that offensive line. You get some more defensive players, and you hope that Daniel Jones can be at least the Daniel Jones he was 2 years ago. If he's the Daniel Jones of 2 years ago and you've upgraded around him, then now you're looking at a playoff caliber team.
Okay, you've set the table perfect for my next question, because I think how I would evaluate Daniel Jones, who's 27, and he's getting paid well. He is an overpaid, middle of the road quarterback. Is that a fair assessment? Okay. So my next question to you is Will Levis going to be better than Daniel Jones? Remember, Daniel Jones on his resume did enough to get that big money, right? Which has been a bad investment so far. But this is where I'm really trying to lay out what is coming up down the pike, what they're evaluating with Will Levis. Because Will Levis soon will be at that crossroads where they have to decide, what are we doing with him? I would love in 2 years to be able to say, they've won a playoff game with Will Levis.
Yeah.
Because Daniel Jones did do that. So I guess that's my question. Is Will Levis going to be better than Daniel Jones? Because that would be a start.
I think a lot of it predicates on how good the offensive line is and how good,
I 100%
how
agree.
good your pass catchers, how quickly you can get this group of pass catchers to know their role, first identify what their role is going to be, and them accepting that role and them flourishing in whatever role they're going to be. Once they figure that out and the quarterback figures them out, the quicker they do it, the better. So it's up to the offensive line and how quickly they sort of figure out these roles with all these receivers. They brought not D-Hop, but they brought Ridley in here to be the number one receiver. It may not work out that way. You got to find out where each guy fit. Now that D-Hop is injured for a while, you bring in Treylon Burks. Now let's try to work this thing out and define roles as we get closer and closer to preseason games and the beginning of the season. Let's identify these roles with all these receivers. I think the quicker they figure that out, the better it is for the quarterback. I think Will can do it. I really do. Again, Will, at the end of the season, he just needs to be a quarterback the Titans don't have a question mark over. He doesn't need to be great. Now, if he's great, that's perfect. But he doesn't need to be CJ Stroud. He doesn't, okay? Not many people can do that their first year as a full-time starter. But he doesn't need to be the kid out of the Jets either.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. He can't be Zach Wilson.
Looks like he's playing his way out of Denver as we
speak.
He's looks like he's losing reps at practice right now. He may be a lost cause.
Exactly.
So that to me is the range right there. You have the total bust first round pick, which does happen right now. Will Levis is a second round pick, so that there's a difference in the contract and the risk. But the definition of a middle of the road quarterback is if you've got a good roster around him,
you can win.
You can win some games and you can win some playoff games. But he is not going to elevate a bad roster. But the problem the Giants have is they're paying Daniel Jones,
like
who is a middle of the road quarterback, big money. He's just under the big contracts that were just signed by Tua, by Jordan Love, and by Trevor Lawrence. So this is what I'm getting at with Levis. You could do a lot worse than Daniel Jones. I don't think he's that bad, but although Tim Hasselbeck said that's the big thing is you've got to stay available. If you're going to be middle of the road and playing every game, that's pretty good. Like Ryan Tannehill at his best was better than middle of the road, but his asset was he wasn't missing any games.
Yeah, he was available.
He became a lot less valuable when he was making good money but missing half the season, and the roster crumbled around him, and you saw the results drop off. So I think that's really the highway, the guardrails I'm looking at for Levis. But my point would be, at some point, making the right decision with this contract and not getting into that Daniel Jones range of how much of a percentage he's taken up on the cap, because that's when you get in trouble.
But I think if they can,
because don't you think that's the likely? It's much more likely that he is Daniel Jones-ish, hopefully a little better.
Yeah,
more so than I don't know that he's going to be elite. I don't think he's going to be bad.
No, but he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to be elite to sign a new contract. He doesn't. What he needs to show is that he can command this huddle. He can win football games. He's not the reason why they're losing football games. If he's not the reason why they're losing like every game that they lose, then okay, we got some here. But if he's showing the flip side, if he's showing that he can win you some games, that he's available, he's there, and that he's built a rapport with these receivers and these other offensive guys that they have, tight ends and running backs, then why do you want to move away from him in a sense? Because if he's doing the things you're asking him to do, then don't you want to re-up him? At least that's my thought, you know, and this is an opportunity for Will Levis. Again, if they don't know what they have in Will Levis by the end of the season, they need to move on. That's just my thoughts.
The good thing is they don't have to make this decision at the end of this coming year, even though, like you're saying, you would really like to know.
Yeah, I want to know whether he's the guy or not.
He will still have 2 years left on his rookie deal because this is only his second year, right? He's got a 4-year deal.
Is it a 4? I thought it was a 3, and then that 4th year is sort of like a tenure year. I think it may be second
I think
round.
after the 3rd year,
you're
going to want to. You obviously want to lock him up, right? If you know he's the guy, but that's what's going on all around the league with all these things. You don't want a guy going into the last year of his contract. But let's take a look. I feel like they don't have to make a decision on his contract.
Well, not this year. At the end of this year, they don't. And yeah, you're right. They don't have to make a decision. But I would like for them to know in their mind whether he's the guy or not.
Right. When we come back, we will take it to the bank and make our predictions for the weekend. We'll have a lot of fun with that to wrap up the show next here on 102.5 The Game.
And you can take that to the bank.
Here comes the money, 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 money,
It's time to take it to the bank. Brought to you by F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Just to clean up a loose end from the last segment, Will Levis does have a 4-year contract, and this being his second year, he is dirt cheap. This is the advantage that Rand Carthon has as he builds the roster around a young quarterback. He makes very, very little against the cap, even less than a first-round quarterback. So they don't have to make a decision on his contract after this year, even though, as DMase said, you'd like to get a pretty clear picture of where you are. Then you can decide, am I going to try to invest and maybe get him in a middle-class slot, give him more guaranteed money early, or just play out the whole rookie contract, which you could do for this year and then 2 more years after that before he would have a chance to become an unrestricted free agent at that point. So we'll table that discussion, and we'll look ahead to the weekend with our fun Take It to the Bank. So, Nick, how did we do last week?
Well, Willie, let me just put it out there. Everybody went kind of half and half, but a lot of home runs, a lot of good things. I'll start with you, Willie. You had the Red Sox win 2 out of 3 of that series. Did not happen.
That was a wacky series between the Yankees and the Red Sox at Fenway. All 3 games probably could have gone either way, but the Yankees did take the series at Fenway. And
they get Jazz Chisholm Jr. in the middle of all that.
Jazz Chisholm, who of course was on my National League only fantasy team. So when a guy like that gets traded to the American League, you get nothing. You get nothing.
So
and Jazz Chisholm, who had an okay year for the Marlins, immediately goes to the Yankees and starts hitting 2 home runs every game. What's going on with that? Thanks a lot, Jazz.
They call them the Bronx Bombers for a reason, I guess.
You're not a little upset, are you, Willie?
No, I'm not bitter.
Not at all.
But yeah, I think the Red Sox were a strike away, an out away at least, maybe a strike away from winning the second game, which was a wacky on national TV game Saturday night, but they won in an extra inning, so that swung the series. So I came up empty, but I did get the Judge correct.
Indeed, you did. You had 2 Aaron Judge home runs in the series.
I said 2 or more home runs for Aaron Judge. He homered in each of the first 2 games.
How about that?
That guy is unbelievable.
You think he breaks his own record this year?
Look, he's one of those guys, him and Ohtani, if I see them up at the plate when I'm flipping around games, I just feel like they're going to hit a home run every time they're up. I just feel like this guy is going to hit it out
It's
right
imminent.
here.
It's just imminent.
Yeah, it doesn't actually happen. But so to answer your question, could he hit 60? Yeah, I think he could hit 60.
Okay. Thank you.
I think he could.
It's good to know. As for DMase, had the Tigers to win the series of the weekend. Did not happen.
Damn.
But get this, DMase. You picked 3 home runs in the whole series. It's a little on the lighter side, but the first 3 runs of the first game, game 1, all home runs. So, hey,
so I won.
Quick and easy.
Ching, ching.
Ching, ching. As for that, I also picked the Cardinals to win the weekend series. Did not happen. I picked 2 different home run hitters. Brendan Donovan did not happen, but Mason Wynn. Love it.
Who was not a home run hitter. So I give you credit for getting that one.
It's crazy. He's hit like 3 home runs in the last 4 games. He's just on a tear. So with that being said, Willie, you had the degree of difficulty of 5, and then it followed with DMase at 4 and myself at 3. So Willie, you can start us off.
Okay, so this is just, again, our exhibition season for Take It to the Bank. We're going to crank up a new season at the end of this month. We're into August.
We're in preseason. We're still in preseason.
This is preseason.
Yeah.
We just got to get in good mode here.
Yeah. Good rhythm.
So Labor Day weekend, we will start anew, if you will. Okay, so I'm looking for a good baseball weekend series. And how about the Cardinals and the Cubs? I realize they're underway, but the score, it's 0-0 right now, so I feel like I can make this pick. Cardinals-Cubs, always a great rivalry to watch. The Cardinals, of course, still very much in the wild card race. Cubs shocked them last night. So I'm going to look at this game in the final 2. So I'm going to throw out last night's game, so it can be 2 out of 3. And I'm going to say the Cardinals will bounce back and take the series this weekend. So take the Cardinals. And I will also say that Dansby Swanson is going to go deep in one of the games for the Cubs.
Oh, okay.
He'll hit a home run this in the weekend series.
I like that. And it's in Wrigley, right?
It's at Wrigley.
Regular field.
You ever been, DMase?
No, never been.
I have been to Cardinals Cubs at both places, St. Louis and in Wrigley. Can't beat it. Cardinals Cubs at Wrigley, awesome atmosphere, regardless of the records of the teams.
Yeah, that's on my bucket.
That's how they said
sure.
Wrigley Field.
Yeah, Wrigley Field. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. I can't do a good voice of that. But DMase, if you'd like to go next.
All right, I go. I predict the U.S. will catch China in a gold medal this weekend. China has 13, U.S. has 9 right about now. Now that the track and field events have started, I think the U.S. will catch China in the gold medal race. China's leading right now. And I got the upset. I don't know if this is an upset. You tell me if it's an upset, and I think it is.
Okay.
Argentina to beat France in the soccer game in the quarterfinals.
Ooh.
Yes, I would say it's an upset.
Yes,
Because
on
give me
home soil.
Argentina. Yeah,
Messi's
give me
not
Argentina to beat France. Now, France haven't given up any goals yet, but Argentina has. They've given up 3. I suspect that France will not be able to hold on to that 0 of not giving up goals. I think Argentina will win, and I'm gonna give you the score.
Oh,
the score will be 3-2.
Ooh, a high scoring game.
Yes,
Okay.
Argentina.
call him Derek Nostradamus.
There we go.
That's all about it.
Mason Damas.
There you go, Mason Damas. There you go.
Mason Damas.
There you go. As for myself, I'm going to take another baseball one. I'm just going to go home runs on this. You ready for this?
Okay.
I'm going to go back to the well with the Cardinals. I'm going Tommy Pham. They just acquired him through a trade.
Oh,
Tommy Pham to hit a home
You're
run.
going after the
Tommy
new
Pham.
guy.
Tommy
Yes.
Pham, who is
New
trying
guy.
to set a record for most changes of address. He's already. This is his second time around with the Cardinals. He's played for at least 8 teams. I think he's got to be getting up there.
That's
among the
good,
record
but then
holders.
that's bad, but then that's good because somebody wants you.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're never out of
I got to
job.
count this up just to be sure while you do this. Keep
Yeah,
keep
go
going.
ahead. Thank you. I'm going to go with Tommy Pham, Jackson Holiday to hit a home run. He had a grand slam the other day. I'm going to go with Jackson Holiday. And just for the fun of it all, Randy Arozarena. And who else is out there that I should probably add to that? And Jazz Chisholm Jr. Let's go with that. All 4 of those.
4 guys to hit a home run.
In the weekend series. Yeah, why not? And a
Wow.
partridge in a pear tree. Oh, in the U.S. to have at least 2 of the top 3 to be American golfers to finish.
Oh,
So,
okay.
All
Bronze,
right.
silver, whatever. Just top 3.
Tommy Pham, back with the Cardinals, has played for the Cardinals, the Rays, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Reds, and the White Sox. How many is that?
He's the Fitzpatrick of baseball,
that's
huh?
8 teams.
He's
8
the Ryan
teams.
Fitzpatrick of baseball.
He is.
Yeah, pretty much so.
He and Ryan Fitzpatrick
They've
will,
been on a
will
lot
have
of
a
teams,
jersey
yeah.
sale someday, and they'll have so many jerseys you can't even count them all. That's good stuff.
Oh man.
All right, that's going to do it for us. It's
been a good week,
Another
Willie.
great week of shows as we count down towards another big football season. DMase and I will be back with you on Monday. Coming up next, we've got Stillman and Company, and Jared will again reassess his wish that they had re-upped Danico Autry 2 years ago, and they should have already locked up DeAndre Hopkins to a contract for next year. We'll see if he wants to reassess that.
Jared wants to pass along. It's a 2:15 segment today.
Oh, it's going to be on a 2:15 segment.
The 2:15 segment.
Oh,
with
I will
D-Hop
be
today.
listening, Jared.
Okay,
I
thank
am
you, Jared.
listening all the time as I go home.
All right. Speaking of Ryan Fitzpatrick, how about this guy doing the shot put? Does he not look like Ryan Fitzpatrick?
The beard, don't he?
Good grief! Look at that. That's Ryan Fitzpatrick plus about 100 pounds.
200.
Wow. Maybe 200 pounds. All right, everybody. Great weekend. We're back with you Monday at 11 o'clock.
Be love on your people, love on your neighbors. Have a safe weekend. God bless you and peace.
Yeah.